Chapter 849. In front of the wisteria, the entire space fell silent. Supplemental Dao Yu, one of the 7 young kings of the central region, was dead. Many cultivators were shocked, and many of them couldn't help but tremble. Among the 7 young kings of the central region, excluding in Lanjing, Supplemental Dao Yu wasn't the strongest, but his control of the great Dao of Darkness had reached an extremely high level. Moreover, his great Dao of Darkness was powerful enough, and he himself was at the 6th level of the great Dao. But now he was killed just like that. Duan Ziyuan and Qi Lianjin were shocked, and their expressions changed. Even Bai Qiu's trio and Wuxing Crocodile were shocked. They didn't expect Lin Tian to kill a young king here. Buzz! The light of the great Dao reincarnation diagram intertwined. After killing Supplemental Dao Yu, it returned to Lin Tian's head and dropped down strands of divine light. Lin Tian tilted his head and gently waved his hand, taking back Supplemental Dao Yu's short blade. Supplemental Dao Yu had died before, but this divine weapon was preserved. He grabbed the short blade and wiped it, dispersing Supplemental Dao Yu's divine sense imprint on it, and then put it away. "It's your turn." He looked at Duan Ziyuan and Qi Lianjin. There was nothing to say. He opened this realm, and he found the great Dao source here. These people wanted to kill him and take the great Dao source, so he naturally had to pay them back. He couldn't let them go. The great Dao reincarnation diagram circled above his head. As he stepped up, the void shook, and cracks appeared everywhere. Smelled all things. What a mortal world! Qi Lianjin and Duan Ziyuan shouted at the same time. Facing Lin Tian now, Qi Lianjin and Duan Ziyuan felt an absolute threat of death. They didn't dare to hold back at all. They pushed their great Dao laws to the limit, and the power of smelting and immortal would surged up. Lin Tian didn't dodge. The great Dao reincarnation diagram flew out, and strands of light rippled out like water, instantly obliterating everything. He stepped in front of Duan Ziyuan, and the great Dao reincarnation diagram pressed down. Duan Ziyuan's expression changed, and he roared wildly. Great Dao laws surged, and dozens of secret techniques appeared together, and divine light filled the sky. Whoosh! 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 The sonic boom continued as Duan Ziyuan used all of his strength to cast a few movement divine arts and defensive divine arts to increase the distance between him and Lin Tian. Just now, he had seen how terrifying Lin Tian's new divine map was. It had killed Supplemental Dao Yu in a single strike. He didn't dare to take it head-on. Looking at Lin Tian's divine map pressing down on him, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. With the great Dao reincarnation scroll in hand, Lin Tian gently shook it and obliterated Duan Ziyuan's great Dao laws and all of his secret arts. However, Duan Ziyuan also retreated very far away because of this. Immortal Wood's sacred world. Crazy refinement. Duan Ziyuan and Qi Lianjin roared again. For a moment, densely packed vines of the old trees appeared, and a huge furnace appeared in the void. 2 different kinds of power of the great path surged like a vast ocean, wanting to drown Lin Tian. Lin Tian held the great Dao reincarnation scroll up. The scroll shook, and divine light intertwined, directly obliterating the old trees and vines that filled the sky. At the same time, it shattered the furnace formed by the great Dao laws. His feet shook, and the great Dao reincarnation scroll shook and pressed down mightily. Poof! Poof! Bloody mist splashed in the void. Qi Lianjin and Duan Ziyuan had half of their bodies shattered at the same time. In an instant, blood filled the sky. The 2 roared in unison, and the light of their divine souls intertwined, wrapping around their incomplete bodies and leaving the range of the great Dao reincarnation scroll. They reassembled their bodies in the distance. Qi Lianjin's eyes were cold as he stared at Lin Tian. It seems that killing Supplemental Dao Yu just now consumed a lot of your strength. This scroll is not as powerful as before, Duan Ziyuan said. Lin Tian lung snorted. The divine scroll shook and pressed down on the 2 again. In reality, these 2 were right. Just now, He had indeed used up a lot of divine power to kill Supplemental Daoyu with one strike. After all, Supplemental Daoyu was one of the young kings of the central region. He was really powerful and had extraordinary talent. Moreover, he was 4 levels higher than him, and his control of the Great Tao laws was also very skillful. For such a person, even if he merged the Great Tao laws with the Great Tao reincarnation scroll, it would be impossible to kill him easily. He had used all his strength in that strike, and he had injected a lot of divine power into it. That was why he had killed his opponent with one strike. "It's enough to kill one of you," he said coldly. With a buzz, the light of the Great Tao reincarnation scroll that he held up became even brighter. Divine lights surged, and the light of the Great Tao was pure enough to split open the sky. Duan Ziyuan and Qi Lianjun roared in unison. They each took out the Great Tao laws and secret techniques, and they also pushed their divine weapons to the limit. The violent killing power was like angry waves, surging out wave after wave. Lin Tian's expression was cold. The Great Tao reincarnation scroll suppressed everything. Boom! The 3 powerhouses confronted each other, and the space in all directions was constantly shattered. Large cracks in the void extended in all directions like a spider web. Some cultivators' hearts palpitated. Such a collision was too terrifying. This place had almost turned into a land of destruction. At the same time, some cultivators began to retreat for fear of being affected. So powerful! In front of the wisteria, Bai Qiu's eyes lit up. Lin Tian fought the 3 young kings of the central region alone and killed one of them. Now he could still fight 2 of them. This kind of combat power really surprised her. She couldn't help but clench her hands. Whooshing Crocodile glanced at Lin Tian, and his eyes were full of light. Good boy, Grandpa Crocodile has to work harder too. At this time, it had already taken 5 out of the 9 Great Tao sources. There were only 4 left. Dong! In front, another piece of space collapsed, and the aura of destruction intertwined. Duan Ziyuan and Qi Lianjun each urged the Great Tao law to the extreme. They really cooperated to attack Lin Tian. All kinds of magical secret techniques flew, and all kinds of magical means appeared together. It was very shocking. Lin Tian's expression was cold. The Great Tao reincarnation scroll flickered, and the 2 blood-colored swords also kept slashing the sword light. The 3 destructive forces kept colliding. Boom! 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 This space kept shaking as if it was about to collapse completely in the next moment. In the blink of an eye, a full hour passed. After an hour of fierce confrontation, the divine power of the 3 was almost exhausted, and the Great Tao law was weak. It was also at this time, in the sky full of divine light, Lin Tian stepped on the 5th level of Yin and Yang Hua and turned it to a lightning bolt to break in front of Qi Lianjun. The Great Tao reincarnation scroll pressed down mightily. You puff! The blood mist exploded, and Qi Lianjun was crushed by a blow. Roar! Qi Lianjun roared, and his divine soul was not destroyed. He swept away the broken pieces of flesh and fled outside. Lin Tian snorted, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He forcefully activated the Great Tao reincarnation scroll, and at the same time, he also activated the Yin-Yang Lotus Sea. Ah! Qi Lianjun screamed. In the end, he did not escape. Under the double attack of the Great Tao reincarnation scroll and the Yin-Yang Lotus Sea, his divine soul was shattered and destroyed. Suddenly, the cultivators in this place trembled. Qi Lianjun, King Qi Lianjun, is also dead. Someone said to himself in a trembling voice. Looking at Lin Tian, at this moment, many cultivators could not help but feel a sense of fear. Boom! Powerful divine power surged. At this moment, Duan Ziyuan used another powerful divine power. It was not a killing technique, but a movement technique. At this time, he chose to retreat directly. In the blink of an eye, he crossed 1,000 feet. This scene shocked many cultivators again. Their faces were full of disbelief. King of divine powers escaped? Lin Tian tilted his head. The Great Tao reincarnation scroll was already extremely faint. He shook his hand and threw it out, instantly cutting through the sky. Ah! In the distance, there was a scream. Half of Duan Ziyuan's body was destroyed. However, the Great Tao Reincarnation Scroll also disappeared because of this. Lin Tian raised his leg and stepped over. Divine kill! Duan Ziyuan roared. He did not have time to reform his physical body. He used the divine weapon seal and threw it at Lin Tian. Then, he dragged half of his body and fled again. His speed was actually increased by a lot. Lin Tian used the weapon control technique to block Duan Ziyuan's divine weapon seal. When he looked up again, the other had completely disappeared. After spreading out his divine sense, he could not find the other's aura. He snorted coldly and grabbed Duan Ziyuan's divine weapon seal. He raised his hand and wiped away the divine sense imprint on it. Then, he grabbed Qi Lianjin's divine weapon halberd on the other side. After wiping away the divine sense imprint, he put it into his body. At this moment, his clothes were stained with blood. 2 blood-colored divine swords and a copper lamp circled around him. He tilted his head and looked at the other cultivators around him. We did not want to steal the source, yes. We did not want to steal it. This will leave now. Facing Lin Tian's eyes, all the cultivators in this place trembled. They were afraid that Lin Tian would misunderstand that they had the intention to steal the source. What a joke! He fought against the 3 young kings of the central region by himself, killed 2 of them, and forced the other to abandon his divine weapon to escape. How terrifying was such a person? He was simply a god of death. Suddenly, the cultivators who came to this place quickly retreated and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian glanced into the distance. When he was sure that everyone had retreated, he put away the 2 divine swords and the copper lamp. Cough! His body fell to the ground shakily. He coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood, and his face was pale to the extreme. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi were both moved and quickly flashed over. Bai Qiu naturally stepped over and helped Lin Tian to stand steadily. He asked worriedly, "How are you?" Lin Tian shook his head. "I'm fine." He fought against the 3 young kings of the central region alone, killed 2 of them, and forced the last one to retreat. How could such a battle be simple? He had already suffered severe injuries. His internal organs were now full of cracks, and it would be difficult for him to heal in a short time. In fact, if Duan Ziyuan had fought him directly instead of running away, the result would have been very difficult to predict. "You call this fine? Your face is so pale that it's devoid of color," Bai Qiu said. She supported Lin Tian and channeled divine power into Lin Tian's body continuously to help Lin Tian heal his injuries. Soon, dozens of breaths passed. "It's done," Wuxing Crocodile said. The 9 sources of the source had been completely extracted, and they were all intact. It flapped its wings and flew over from the wisteria with obvious excitement in its eyes. Lin Tian nodded. "Okay, let's get out of here quickly." The 3 people and the crocodile naturally understood Lin Tian's meaning. At this time, Lin Tian was severely injured and his divine power was depleted. He was no longer able to fight. The 3 people and the crocodile were only half a step into the Great Tao realm. Although they could kill ordinary cultivators of the Great Tao realm, they couldn't do much against those who were slightly stronger. If such people suddenly came, they would be in great danger. Chapter 850. Reeks. Lin Tianyi and the others didn't linger too long. They left immediately. Along the way, Bai Qiu continued to help Lin Tian heal his injuries by transferring his divine power to Lin Tian. They purposely chose an inconspicuous path and soon arrived at the entrance of the spirit realm. They stepped out of it and out of the valley, heading into the distance. "Speaking of which, Kid Lin, you're not bad. You fought the 3 young kings of the central region alone and killed 2 of them." Wuxing Crocodile clicked its tongue and said, "2 consecutive heavenly tribulations and destructive tribulation lightning. Do you think I suffered for nothing?" Lin Tian glanced at it from the corner of his eyes. The group didn't move slowly. After another 10 hours, they found a secluded place in a green mountain far away. This green mountain was very ordinary. Under normal circumstances, no cultivators would come near it. Wuxing Crocodile took out 9 balls of Kane Daozors. In an instant, Taoist light flashed and intertwined with immortal kernels. Tisk TSK. Priceless, immortal treasures. Whooshing crocodile's eyes were shining. It waved its claw and kept one ball for itself. It gave one to Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi, and threw the rest to Lin Tian. One ball of this thing is enough. It has amazing effects. If you refine the second ball, the effects will be greatly reduced. It's a waste. Lin Tian didn't say anything and took the 5 balls of Kane Dao Source. Bai Qiu held the Dao Source with shining eyes. Let's refine it directly. Of course, Whooshing Crocodile said, but let Kid Lin refine it first. He's injured. During the process, not only will his Dao be strengthened, but he can also heal his injuries. After that, we'll let him protect us. This was a good idea. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi nodded in agreement. Lin Tian also felt that it made sense. He sealed 4 of the 5 balls of Khanate Dao Source with a special secret technique from the Dragon Burial Scripture. Then, he sat down cross-legged and circulated the Sun Heart Sutra once. He directly absorbed the Khanate Dao Source into his body. Buzz! Suddenly, the golden divine light on the surface of his body became stronger. It was blazing and dazzling. However, in the next moment, his Dao body trembled slightly, and the Khanate Dao Source in his body fell out. Seeing this, the 3 people and the crocodile were confused and looked at him. Kid, what are you doing? Whooshing Crocodile asked. Lin was also confused and frowned slightly. But the Dao principles of the great Dao in his body rejected. The Dao's Dao, S's body rejected. Let me try again, said Yu 1. And this time, of the same, the Dao Source absorbed. S. At it, T. The 3 men and 1 crocodile stared at him. The 5 elements crocodile opened his mouth again and said, Brat, what are you playing at? Do you think I'm playing? Hearing his words, the 3 people and the crocodile were shocked. The Dao principles in your body actually rejected the Khanate Dao Source. Bai Qiu stared. Even the 5 elements crocodile, an old monster, was dumbfounded. Grandpa Crocodile has never heard of such a thing. You have to know that the innate Dao Source is something condensed from the Great Dao. It contains many pure Great Dao fragments. It has an absolute effect on tempering and strengthening the Great Dao Law. The Dao Law in your body actually rejected it. It stared at Lin Tian with an expression of disbelief. Yang Qi frowned. Obviously, he didn't understand. A glimmer of light flashed in by Ziki's eyes. He looked at Lin Tianyi and said, Is there such a possibility? The Dao in his body is already very strong. He doesn't need the Khanate Dao Source to strengthen it. He paused. Although he felt that his guess was a bit exaggerated, he continued, could it be that compared to the Dao principles in his body, the Khanate Dao Source may be an impurity? Refining it into the Dao will make his Dao principles worse. Listening to his words, Bai Qiu, Whooshing Crocodile, and Yang Qi were all shocked. Even Lin Tian couldn't help but open his mouth. Bai Ziki's words were indeed a bit too shocking. After all, the Khanate Dao Source was a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It was something that even Nirvana realm experts would covet. These words are a bit shocking. Whooshing Crocodile widened its eyes. But there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. According to Lin Tian's current situation, the Dao principles in his body seemed to have their own consciousness and rejected the Khanate Dao Source. They didn't want the Khanate Dao Source to merge with it. In this way, Bai Ziki's guess could be considered a reasonable explanation. Compared to the Dao principles in Lin Tian's body, the Khanate Dao Source could really be considered an impurity. For a moment, the 3 people and 1 crocodile were shocked. The nameless Great Dao that Lin Tian controlled was actually so heaven-defying. Even the Great Dao of Termination, which is ranked first among the 3,000 Great Daos. Isn't this exaggerated? Whooshing Crocodile was stunned. This was really a bit shocking. It made an old monster like it feel as if its brain had short-circuited for a moment. Yu too. Bai Qiu looked at Lin Tian and blinked her beautiful big eyes. Young man, you're not bad. You're actually so heaven-defying. Lin Tian was speechless. He raised his hand and gave her a knock on the head. "What, young man? Do you know how to talk?" "I'll try again," he said. He circulated the Sun Heart Sutra and continuously adjusted his state. Then, for the third time, he absorbed the great Tao source into his body. However, the outcome did not change. Just like the previous 2 times, the Kane great Tao source was forcefully expelled. "Forget it, I'm not going to try anymore." He seemed a little helpless. The dragon patterns on his right hand interweaved, sealing the great Tao source and preserving it. He stood up and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. "Although I didn't refine it, my injuries have recovered quite a bit. My divine power has recovered by about 50%. As he spoke, his hands moved repeatedly. In the blink of an eye, 3 sealing formations were set up around him. Then he looked at Bai Chio and the other 2 and Whooshing Crocodile and said, "You guys can start refining it. You should all be able to break through to the great Tao realm. I'll protect you." Bai Chio and the other 2 and Whooshing Crocodile nodded. They immediately found a place and circulated their respective ancient scriptures. For a time, for different auras interweaved, causing this place to be filled with divine light. Just like that, after about an hour, the 3 people and 1 crocodile took out the Kane great Tao source and absorbed it into their bodies one after another. They began to refine and absorb it with their ancient scriptures. Buzz! Divine light and demonic light flickered in this space, becoming denser and denser, almost drowning this space. Then, gradually, Tao law fluctuations spread out from the bodies of the 3 people and 1 crocodile, becoming stronger and more shocking. In just an instant, Lin Tian felt that the power of the great Tao law of the 3 people and 1 crocodile was rapidly rising. Clearly, the Kane great Tao source had been refined by the 3 people and 1 crocodile, and it was beginning to show its magical effects. This made him rather speechless. He actually couldn't refine this Kane great Tao source. What kind of Tao is this? He frowned. Without a doubt, his great Tao law was very powerful. It could be seen from the fact that he could attract a heavenly tribulation. Moreover, during the battle with Qi Lianjin and the other 2, he had also obtained sufficient proof that his great Tao law could crush the Taos of the 3 so-called young kings. However, even so, he still didn't know what Tao he controlled. Yu-3, seriously, thinking of this, he suddenly felt even more speechless and even a little depressed. Since ancient times, he was probably the only cultivator who didn't know what kind of great Tao he controlled. He thought for a while, then simply shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Anyway, he couldn't figure it out no matter how he thought about it. Thinking about it was just a waste of time. He stood by the side and stared at the 3 people and 1 crocodile. At the same time, he spread his powerful divine sense around, appearing cautious and serious. Now, the 3 people and 1 crocodile were all at the half-step great Tao realm. After refining the Kane great Tao source, they would definitely be able to enter the great Tao realm. Therefore, this process was very important to the 3 people and 1 crocodile. No one was allowed to disturb them. Buzz! Divine power and demonic power intertwined in this space, becoming stronger and stronger. The fluctuations of the great Tao law also became denser. The aura of the 3 people and 1 crocodile was constantly rising. Just like that, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! On this day, a powerful demonic power spread out. Whooshing Crocodile's entire body shone with demonic light. The gray demonic mist wrapped around it like a wave. The 5 elements' great Tao law intertwined, making it look like an unparalleled demonic saint. "Ah, we're here! We're here! Lord Crocodile has entered the great Tao realm again." Whooshing Crocodile howled. After all, this was the 2nd time it was recultivating. Among the 3 people and 1 crocodile, it was the first to enter the great Tao realm. Its demonic power had skyrocketed. Lin Tian stood by the side. He directly raised his hand and grabbed it from the air. "What are you howling for? Be quiet." At this moment, Bai Chio, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi were still refining the great Tao source. They were in a state of enlightenment and could not be disturbed. Whooshing Crocodile naturally understood this and immediately quieted down. However, The excitement in its eyes could not be concealed. It howled softly beside Lin Tian. Now, it had entered the Great Tao realm for the second time and was at the first heaven of the Great Tao. Compared to when it was at the first heaven of the Great Tao, its combat strength was completely different. It was much, much stronger. Its strength in all aspects had increased tremendously. It could be said that it had undergone an earth-shaking qualitative change. Lin Tian glanced at it. Naturally, he knew why it was excited. He did not say anything and continued to guard by the side seriously. Very soon, another day had passed. On this day, Baiziki and Yangqi broke through at the same time and entered the Great Tao realm. The light of the Great Tao around them was like a river of stars. They were both domineering and sharp. It was as if two war gods had come back to life. The aura they emitted was extremely powerful. After that, 14 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Bai Qiu also broke through to the Great Tao realm. The light of the moon surrounded her body, making her look like a goddess of the moon, charming and holy. All right. Chapter 851. Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, Wuxing Crocodile, and Yangqi. The three of them and the crocodile had stepped into the Great Tao realm one after another. Lin Tian was naturally very happy. Now that they had all reached this height, their combined battle prowess was unimaginable. Let's see who dares to provoke us in the future. If they dare to jump over, we'll directly crush them together. Wuxing Crocodile laughed wildly. Now that it had recultivated to the Great Tao realm for the second time, its battle prowess was extraordinary and very strong. Meanwhile, Bai Ziki and Bai Qiu had the king physique, so their battle prowess was simply terrifying. Although Yangqi did not have the king physique and did not have the innate advantage of a king physique, his astonishing talent was enough to make up for this gap. Moreover, apart from this, the three of them had either tempered their bodies with life crystals or refined their immortal roots. Now, they had refined the Kane Dao source, so their capital was very strong. Lin Tian glanced at it and did not say anything. It's about time. Let's go. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and the three ceiling formation patterns that he had set up all dispersed. The three of them and the crocodile had refined the Kane Dao source, so there was no need to consolidate their cultivation after breaking through. So at this time, there was naturally no need to stay in this place for long. Bai Qiu and the others nodded. They each soared into the air and stepped out of this green mountain. The central region was very vast, far from what the desolate area could compare to. The group stepped out of the green mountain and quickly traveled far away. After walking for more than 2 hours, they encountered a group of cultivators. When these cultivators saw the group, they were first stunned, then shocked as if they had seen a ghost. This, it's that man. Someone stared at Lin Tian, and his body could not help but tremble. Not long ago, Lin Tian had fought with Supplemental Path Ghost, Qi Lianjin, and Duan Ziyuan in that spirit region. He had killed Supplemental Path Ghost and Qi Lianjin, and forced Duan Ziyuan to flee. This matter had long since spread throughout the central region, causing waves of great waves. After all, Supplemental Path Yu, Qi Lianjin, and Duan Ziyuan were all young kings of the central region. 2 of these 3 young kings had been killed in a single battle, and 1 had been forced to flee. How could such a matter not draw attention? At this time, the group of cultivators saw Lin Tian and couldn't help but feel fear and trepidation because Lin Tian didn't just kill 2 young monarchs. Not long ago, he also killed several generals of Zhang Yuji and Enlanjing. He even killed one of Enlanjing's divine intents. How could ordinary cultivators not be afraid of him? When they look at you, there are only 2 words written in their eyes: pervert, demon. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian raised her hand and was about to hit her, but the girl seemed to have learned her lesson. This time, she jumped away. All right, let's ignore them. Lin Tian Dao. The group of them walked into the distance. Because they weren't in a hurry to do anything at this time, they walked rather casually. Not long after, they arrived at a plain. There were no signs of other cultivators nearby, only some green grass. At this time, the air suddenly became cold. A murderous aura intertwined. extremely frightening. The group stopped, no longer moving forward. There's a killing formation. Lin Tiandao. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, densely packed formation runes appeared in the void all around them. An incomplete formation diagram silently appeared and floated in the sky. It was this diagram that had formed the dense killing formation runes. On the grassland, for silhouettes appeared silently. All of them were brimming with vitality. The person in the middle, in particular, exuded the most tyrannical aura. It was as terrifying as a red, ferocious beast walking on the ground. This person walked at the front with an indifferent expression. His eyes were cold, causing others to be frightened. A bit stronger than Qi Lianjin and the other two young kings. Looking at this person, Lin Tianwei narrowed her eyes. Beside her, Yang Qi also looked at this person and said, Enlongjing's #1 battle general, Marquis Mu. As he spoke, he glanced at the three people beside Marquis Mu. #4 battle general, Lu Zhanlie. #5 battle general, Wu Mihao. #6 battle general, Su Laiyao. Boom! Killing runes intertwined in the surroundings, and murderous light surged. The space seemed to have turned into an ocean of murderous intent. Marquis Mu and the other three walked over, not hiding their murderous intent at all. Take the head, Marquis Mu said. A divine saber rushed out of his body, and he directly stepped into the killing formation, moving towards Lin Tian. As he stepped forward, the incomplete formation in the sky shook. Instantly, murderous light like an ocean pressed down on Lin Tian. This murderous light was somewhat terrifying, and all of them were directed towards Lin Tian, shattering the vast space immediately. Lin Tian's expression was normal, and a blood-colored divine sword rushed out of his body. With a light shake, it blocked all of the murderous light that filled the sky. Speaking of which, weren't there rumors before that Enlongjing's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th battle generals jumped out to kill us? Why did it change now? The #1 battle general, Marquis Mu, and the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 3rd battle generals have chased us here, but the 2nd and 3rd battle generals are nowhere to be seen. Bai Qiu was curious. How simple, didn't you notice? That Marquis Mu's divine consciousness is directly locked onto Lin Tian, and the murderous light of the killing formation they created is also drowning in Lin Tian. The 5 elements crocodile curled his lips and said, It's obvious that the Lin brat killed 2 young kings by himself in that spirit domain. After this news spread, it caused the generals who originally came out to fight to feel fear. After that, the 1st general, Marquis Mu, personally came out. As for the 2nd and 3rd generals, they should have been sent back by Marquis Mu to protect Enlongjing, who was in seclusion. As he spoke, Wuxing Crocodile glanced at Lu Zhanlie, Wu Mihao, and Su Laiyao and said, Their plan is very simple. The #1 battle general, who is stronger than Qi Lianjin and the other young kings, Marquis Mu, will kill Lin Tian, and the other 3 will kill us. Bai Qiu was slightly taken aback, and then nodded. It seems to make sense. Noisy! A cold voice rang out. Enlongjing's 6th battle general, Su Laiyao, stepped into the killing formation. A divine weapon rushed out of his body and directly charged forward. At the same time, the 4th battle general, Lu Zhanlie, and the 5th battle general, Wu Mihao, also stepped forward, and all of them revealed their divine weapons. Instantly, as the divine power and divine weapons of the 3 people surged, the killing aura in this place became even stronger. Crack! With a crisp sound, a large part of the void was directly shattered. Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes, and at this moment, he stepped forward and stared at Marquis Mu, who was using his divine consciousness to lock onto him. Leave this person to me. You guys take care of the other 3. With a clang, the divine sword beside him vibrated slightly. Streaks of golden sword gleam shot out, heading straight for Marquis Mu. Moreover, at the same time, he moved both of his hands. Soul light interweaved between his hands, condensing into a soul sword between them. This soul sword was formed by the divine One Soul mantra and his divine soul. With a clang, it directly slashed into the sky. This sword was extremely fast, and it was unstoppable. Chi. With a soft sound, the incomplete formation map in the sky was slashed into pieces, and the killing formation patterns in the surroundings instantly collapsed. The sharp killing intent disappeared completely in the blink of an eye. Marquis Mu's eyes narrowed. Although the killing formation map in the sky was incomplete, it was still comparable to a complete seventh-order killing formation. He did not expect that it would be so easily destroyed by Lin Tianwei. He stared at Lin Tianwei, and his gaze became even colder. It's no big deal. I never thought of relying on it to kill you. I just wanted to use it to disturb you. As he finished speaking, there was a boom, and an extremely overbearing aura rushed out of his body. The divine weapon above his head hummed, and the precepts of the Great Path also spread out immediately. It was turbulent and majestic, like the raging waves of the sea. The corners of Lin Tianwei's mouth curled up slightly, directly manifesting the precepts of the Great Path. You want to end this quickly? As he said this, he stepped forward. Then let's end this quickly. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a buzz, and the reincarnation map directly rushed out from behind him. Then, he formed a seal with both hands, and a boundless Tao light appeared, quickly merging with the reincarnation map, causing the complicated patterns on the reincarnation map to become more than 10 times brighter. In an instant, a terrifying aura appeared, and the precepts of the Great Path outside Marquis Mu's body involuntarily shook. This caused Marquis Mu's expression to change, and his eyes were filled with shock. Clang! Beside Lin Tianwei, the second divine sword rushed out. Then, the copper lamp appeared, and the 3 divine weapons that he had snatched from Duan Ziyuan and the other 2 also appeared. He activated them with a weapon control technique, and they immediately unleashed a shocking killing aura. Instantly, this space was enveloped by boundless destructive power. As Lin Tianwei stepped forward, he directly sent Marquis Mu flying. Marquis Mu coughed up blood and roared furiously. The light of his Abijna appeared together, and the precepts of the Great Path surged like a waterfall. Even more! Lin Tianling smiled. The divine weapons of the 6 sects pressed down, and the reincarnation map of the Great Path attacked. After a round of confrontation, Marquis Mu was sent flying again. This scene caused the expressions of Lu Zhanlie and the other 2, who were suppressing by Ziki and the others, to change. How is this possible? The 3 of them were shocked. Among the 9 Great War generals, Marquis Mu was undoubtedly the most powerful, and his combat power was unparalleled. However, he was injured and sent flying twice by Lin Tianwei, and he was actually at a disadvantage. Boom! It was also at this moment that 3 powerful divine powers and a peerless demonic aura appeared together, causing the 3 of them to tremble. Bai Qiu and the other 2, as well as Wuxing Crocodile, took out their divine weapons at the same time. Then, like Lin Tianwei, they directly activated their powerful combat power. The divine Roar Palace, the bright moon in the starry sky, the killing blade gleam, and the Great Path of the 5 elements. For different types of destructive power surged wildly, and their power was terrifying. You guys, the 3 of them were shocked. Wuxing Crocodile and Yang Qi's power shocked them, but what shocked them even more was by Ziki and Bai Qiu. The divine Roar Palace and the bright moon in the starry sky were too dazzling. Powerful as they were, it was impossible for them not to know about these 2 types of king's territory. Even Marquis Mu, who was fighting with Lin Tianwei in the distance, was shocked. Thunder God physique? Extreme physique? Do you have the time to be surprised about other things? Lin Tiantan said coldly. He activated the weapon control technique, and the 6 divine weapons rang loudly, suppressing Marquis Mu with the power to seal the world. At the same time, he held the Great Tao reincarnation diagram in his right hand and pressed down mightily. This was his strongest technique, and he directly activated it to the extreme at this moment. Blood splattered, and the powerful Marquis Mu was immediately shattered. Damn it! His divine soul let out an angry roar, and the Great Tao laws surged wildly. He was even more powerful than Duan Ziyuan, and he struggled to escape. However, Lin Tianwei obviously wouldn't give him such a chance. "Since you're here, don't think about escaping," he said indifferently. He used the 6 divine weapons to suppress the space in all directions, and the great Tao reincarnation diagram pressed down mercilessly. At the same time, he also displayed the yin-yang lotus sea and the 4-symbol seal at the same time, truly going all out and not giving Marquis Mu any hope of escaping. Ah! Chapter 852. Blood floated in the air. It was a ghastly sight, causing Lu Zhonglie and the other two to change their expressions. Their faces were filled with shock and horror. "This is impossible." The 3 of them were shocked and furious. Marquis Mu was the most powerful person among the 9 great generals. His combat strength was extremely powerful, but now he was killed in an instant. Lin Tian put away the 6 divine weapons and grabbed Marquis Mu's divine blade before turning to look at Yang Qi and the others. "Send them on their way," he said. Marquis Mu was indeed very powerful, slightly more powerful than Qi Lianjun and the other 2 young kings. In a normal battle, it would definitely take him a lot of time to kill the other party. However, this battle was obviously different from a normal battle. Marquis Mu displayed the great Tao law right from the start and directly pulled the battle to the peak. He also displayed his strongest technique at the first moment. The reincarnation diagram of the monarch territory, supported by the great Tao law. Then he summoned the 6 divine weapons, the 4-symbol seal, and the yin-yang lotus sea at the same time to suppress the other party. In this way, the outcome was decided in the blink of an eye. He won, and Marquis Mu died. The 3 of them and the crocodile had already seen Marquis Mu being killed. At this moment, they nodded slightly, and the divine power and demonic light around their bodies became stronger. "True Thunder Divine Sword," Bai Ziki muttered. With a rumble, a thunder shadow stood up in the divine roar palace and slowly pulled out a thunder sword. Then, a vast amount of thunder laws rushed out of his body and intertwined with the sword. It shattered the sky and cracked the earth. It turned into a fatal sword attack. "Returning to the domain of the great Tao realm. You 3 little bastards. I'll use you as a sacrifice for Lord Crocodile's great 5 elements art." Whooshing Crocodile chuckled. Behind it, the 5-colored wings flapped gently. Suddenly, the 5 different types of great Tao power of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth intertwined together like 5 destructive millstones rotating. There was even the light of yin and yang being drawn out. Bai Qiu held up the moon in the starry sky and brought out the great Tao law of yin. The 2 merged, causing the space to become dark. Clang! The sound of the saber echoed out as Yang Qi slashed out with his divine weapon, causing a dazzling saber light to shoot out. It merged with the magical laws of the great Tao, transforming into a matchlessly domineering saber attack that left Lin Tian visibly shaken. It was so powerful that it seemed capable of destroying entire worlds. The eyes of the 3 men and 1 crocodile shone brightly. Each of them used their great path cultivation to activate their strongest techniques as they mercilessly pressed forward. Chi! With a soft sound, the void was directly annihilated, leaving nothing behind. For Lu Zhonglie and the other 2, such an attack was a sure kill. The 3 of them roared out in horror as they unleashed all of their techniques. However, how could they possibly withstand such an attack? They were instantly crushed into pieces, and even their spirits were destroyed. Lord Crocodile and the others rushed over as soon as they reached the great Tao realm. "They are really rushing to their deaths," Whooshing Crocodile sneered. At this time, Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi joined hands and grabbed the 3 divine weapons, giving each of them one by one. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened. "F***CK, you 3 brats are so evil. You've captured all of them?" Bai Qiu rolled her eyes and said, "You've lived for at least 1,000 years. Aren't you embarrassed to snatch things from us?" Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened, and he was speechless for a long time. Lin Tian wanted to laugh, but she held it in and walked over. Bai Qiu kept the divine weapons, blinked, and asked, "What are we going to do next?" She didn't think that killing Lu Zhonglier and the others was a big deal. After all, although Lu Zhonglier and the others were extraordinary and powerful, they were even more extraordinary and powerful. I heard that the little bastard is in seclusion in some ruins. Let's look for him and kill him while he's in seclusion, Whooshing Crocodile said viciously. Lin Tian glanced at it from the corner of her eyes. It's not that easy. Do you think in Longjing's place of seclusion is some ordinary place? It must be a secret among secrets. Finding it is as difficult as finding that immortal estate world in the central region. Whooshing Crocodile pursed his lips. Since you say so, let's go find that immortal estate world. There? Boom! The sky suddenly shook, and the earth shook, directly interrupting Whooshing Crocodile's words. At this moment, the world suddenly darkened. Strong winds blew, and the temperature in the air dropped exponentially. Looking over, rolling dark clouds appeared in the sky, and an incomparably oppressive aura spread to every corner of the world, as if a heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Boom! The heavens trembled again, and then it suddenly split open. Endless dark clouds roiled, surging like the waves of the sea. Then, within the dark clouds, a vast and boundless palace appeared. It was eerie, as if it was a kingdom of death. This is space? No. It feels like time and space have been shattered. That palace... Lin Tian's heart trembled. Even someone as powerful as him felt a chill run down his spine. That palace seemed to be able to swallow everything. Beside him, Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi were also shocked, and their expressions changed greatly. Whooshing Crocodile was the most frightened. Its scale stood on end, and it jumped on top of Lin Tian's head, tugging on Lin Tian's hair. Even its voice was trembling. This is extreme Een Palace. It stared at the eerie palace and the endless dark clouds in the sky, and its eyes widened as it shrunk its neck. At this moment, Lin Tian and the others all looked at it. It seemed that Whooshing Crocodile knew something about this palace. You know it? Lin Tian said, and then he was shocked. Wait, Een Palace? I think I've heard of it somewhere before. He thought carefully, and then his expression changed slightly. He remembered that he had heard these 3 words from an old drunkard. Back then, an old drunkard had told him that he had found the remnant soul of the woman he loved in the heavenly palace of death in the depths of Een Palace. Een Palace. It's that. He looked at the eerie palace in the sky, and his eyes were filled with shock. Whooshing Crocodile tugged on Lin Tian's hair and said, Een Palace, intersecting in the chaotic space and time. It only appears once in a while, and every time it appears, a large number of people will die. Since ancient times, who knows how many experts have been buried there. As it spoke, it couldn't help but tremble. It said that this thing is a palace that floated out of hell. What? Hearing it say this, Lin Tian was shocked again. Bai Qiu and the others stared at it. Hell, isn't that just an illusion? Does it really exist? Bai Qiu's eyes widened. Even in the mortal world, the word hell was well known. However, such a place had always been considered to be an illusion, something fabricated in the unofficial history. It simply didn't exist. Now, the 5-elemental alligator actually said that the palace in the sky was a palace that floated out from hell. This was too unbelievable, causing everyone to be shocked. Whether that bullshit hell exists or not, how would Lord Crocodile know? It's all legends I heard. Lord Crocodile knows that this thing isn't a good thing. Whooshing Crocodile stared at the Een Palace in the sky, which was shrouded in rolling dark clouds, as if there was a death god inside. Hurry up and find a place to hide. Don't get dragged in. Boom! The sky trembled, and an invisible and terrifying force was projected from the Een Palace, falling to the ground like rain. In an instant, the entire 5th heaven was swept away. Strands of black lightning intertwined, causing the space around to become chaotic, rippling like water ripples. Huge space cracks appeared, swallowing everything around them. Lin Tian and the others were all horrified. At this moment, They felt as if they had fallen into a swamp, unable to move. Moreover, the space around them was full of cracks, as if there were pairs of invisible hands stretching out from them, pulling them into it. Oh, what? Run, run, run. Don't get sucked in. You will fall into the extreme palace. Whooshing crocodile roared. Lin Tian's group naturally didn't want to be sucked into the surrounding spatial rifts. All of them struggled, but it was useless. At this moment, even moving a finger was very difficult. They couldn't do anything. Buzz! In the surroundings, numerous spatial cracks interweaved with one another. Every spatial crack had pitch-black fog surging out, as if they were the gates to hell, cold and frightening. Lin Tian and the others struggled hard, but it was still useless. They were still dragged into the surrounding space cracks. In the end, after a dozen breaths, the group was swallowed. At this time, in the fifth heaven, similar space cracks appeared everywhere, pulling all the nearby creatures into them. Nothing could resist them. Damn it! What the hell is this? Open! Open for me? No! Some cultivators screamed miserably. They couldn't use their divine abilities, and they couldn't use their secret techniques. One by one, they were swallowed into the space cracks. At this moment, the entire fifth heaven was dark. A gloomy palace floated in the sky, sitting in the endless dark clouds. It was as if the palace of hell was floating in the sky. An invisible force fell from the sky, sucking in the lives of the cultivators one by one. In the endless darkness, Lin Tian felt sore all over his body. He couldn't see anything. Even his divine sense was useless, causing him to frown. This didn't last for long. Almost in an instant, a wisp of dark light appeared in front of him. With a bang, an invisible force rolled out beside him. It was as if space was shaking, and he was directly thrown out. His body swayed 3 times before he finally steadied himself and stepped on the thick ground. As far as the eye could see, this piece of land was crimson red, as if it had been soaked in blood. The ground was littered with scattered corpses, and wisps of pitch-black mist floated in the air. This is the extreme temple? His pupils shrank, only to feel that his whole body became cold, as if someone poured a basin of ice water on him. Immediately, he recovered and quickly looked around, only to find that Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi were gone. Only the whooshing crocodile was still holding his hair tightly. Where are the others? He grabbed the whooshing crocodile and pulled him down. How would Lord Crocodile know? He must have been sucked into this space, but now he is in a different place from us. The whooshing crocodile said, then directly wailed. In the end, I was still pulled in, damn it. This broken place. Even some emperors stay away from it. Is this a place where crocodiles can come? I hashtag yin. Ouch. Chapter 853. Hearing whooshing crocodiles wail, Lin Tian couldn't help but be shocked. This extreme temple was a place where even emperors would stay away from? Damn crocodile, is it that exaggerated? Even emperors are afraid of this place? He frowned slightly. Whooshing crocodile cursed as it wailed. Is there any point in Master Crocodile lying to you? Are there any benefits? *CK your grandfather. It pulled Lin Tian's hair and said, this lousy place is the most ancient life forbidden zone in the 10-direction sky region. It's definitely a forbidden zone. Lin Tian was shocked. The most ancient life forbidden zone? This lousy place only appears once in thousands of years. This time, Master Crocodile coincidentally saw it. *CK. I'm so unlucky. Whooshing crocodile kept cursing. Lin Tian couldn't be bothered with it anymore. Looking at the scarlet barren land with corpses and fog, he couldn't help but frown again. He paused for a moment, then took a step forward and walked in a certain direction. Kid, what are you doing? Whooshing crocodile asked. Find those 3 people, then find a way out. Lin Tian on Dao. According to whooshing crocodile, this extreme temple was not a good place. There was probably no benefit in staying here. Now he had to find Bai Qiu and the others first, then quickly leave this place. Master Crocodile thinks so too. Hurry up and find them. Master Crocodile doesn't want to stay in this lousy place for even a second. This is not a place for crocodiles. Whooshing Crocodile agreed with this move with both paws. The place where the man and the crocodile were now was like a vast plain. The ground was crimson red, and there was no end in sight. There were corpses everywhere on the ground. Lin Tian walked on this scarlet ground and glanced at the corpses beside his feet. Suddenly, he stopped and lightly tapped one of the corpses with the tip of his foot. Instantly, the corpse and its clothes turned into ashes. He was slightly moved. Just now, he had only touched it slightly and did not use any strength at all. But the corpse had instantly turned into ashes. There was only one explanation for this. The corpse had existed for an extremely long time, at least 100,000 years. Whooshing Crocodile obviously knew what he was thinking and said, "Kid, don't think about it." Master Crocodile already said that this extreme Een temple is the most ancient forbidden area in the 10 Directions celestial domain. It has existed for a long time and has manifested in various eras. Lin Tian nodded and continued to walk forward. Walking on this red land, strands of black fog floated in the air, causing the temperature of this space to be extremely cold. Even with the current cultivation of Lin Tian and Whooshing Crocodile, they could not help but feel a chill run down their backs. It was unknown how vast this red plain was. As Lin Tian walked on it, he more or less felt that it was spacious. This was because, as far as the eye could see, there was nothing but corpses. Not even an ant could be seen. Crack! Suddenly, there was the sound of a broken chain. The ground not far away cracked open, and a black worm like an earthworm crawled out from the ground. This black worm was only an inch long and as thick as a thumb. After wriggling twice, it directly turned into a black light and rushed towards Lin Tian. Its speed was shockingly fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Lin Tian. Lin Tian was moved. He raised his hand and slashed out a golden sword light, which landed firmly on the black worm's body and sent it flying on the spot. However, what shocked him was that the black worm fell to the ground in the distance and wriggled a few times before rushing over again. It was unscathed, and its speed was even faster. Damn! What the hell is this? Whooshing Crocodile stared. It knew very well how strong Lin Tian was now. Although the sword strike just now was just a casual slash, it was enough to shatter an ordinary early-stage great Dao expert. However, the black worm was only an inch long, and it was not injured at all. Whoosh! There was the sound of something breaking through the air. In the blink of an eye, the black worm was in front of Lin Tian again. Lin Tian's right hand trembled. This time, it was no longer a casual attack. Instead, he slashed out a thick sword light that towered into the sky. With an ear-piercing sword hum, the towering sword light landed firmly on the black worm's body. With a poof, the black worm was cut into pieces. A viscous and foul-smelling liquid flowed out, corroding a large part of the ground. Crack! 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 The sound of chains breaking rang out one after another. On the crimson plains, the ground kept cracking open as black worms crawled out. In the blink of an eye, they piled up into a worm tide. There were at least 10,000 of them, and just one look was enough to make one's scalp tingle. These black worms had no eyes, but their senses were very sharp. Their bodies were as black as ink, as though they were forged from black gold. They all rushed towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian raised his hand, and the towering sword light swept across a large area, slashing horizontally. Poof! 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 The black worms kept exploding and falling to the ground. However, gradually, more and more black worms crawled out from the ground. Many of them were about 5 inches long. These black worms were faster, and their bodies were tougher. When Lin Tian's towering sword light slashed on the bodies of these black worms, sparks of light sputtered out. It was difficult to cut them into pieces. Instead, it made them let out a ferocious worm cry. Then, more and more black worms rushed out from the ground. They were so densely packed that the man and the crocodile were shocked. "Boy, retreat!" the Whooshing Crocodile shouted. Lin Tian did not hesitate. These black worms were a little strange. If they really swarmed over, he and the whooshing crocodile would probably be swallowed alive in the blink of an eye. He slashed out a towering sword light and stepped on the yin and yang puppet without hesitation. He left afterimages with each step. In the blink of an eye, he was far away. Soon, he walked for about 10,000 feet. What's that? He frowned. Those black worms were a little strange and terrifying. When combined, they could probably even swallow a comprehension realm cultivator. I don't know, but it seems to be a type of corpse worm, the whooshing crocodile said. Lin Tian questioned, are corpse worms that powerful? Don't forget, this is extreme Yin Temple. Don't judge by common sense. In this place, a dead toad might jump out and swallow a great path cultivator. The whooshing crocodile said. Lin Tian did not say anything else. He spread out his powerful divine consciousness, looking for traces of Bai Qiu and the others. Soon, he walked for about 10,000 feet. He was still on the Crimson Plain, and the ground was still littered with corpses. Boom! At this time, a shocking wave of divine power came from ahead. There was a familiar wave. It seems to be the divine power wave of that girl from the Bai family. The whooshing crocodile said. Lin Tian naturally felt it immediately. He rushed forward like lightning, covering hundreds of feet in one step. In the blink of an eye, he crossed hundreds of feet. There were two figures fighting fiercely in front of him. Two different types of divine power vibrated. The two figures were a man and a woman. The woman was dressed in purple and had a blood-red divine sword above her head. Her killing power was unparalleled. It is indeed the girl from the Bai family, the whooshing crocodile said. Then he looked at the figure fighting with Bai Qiu. He thought for a while and said, it seems to be that bastard's third general. What's his name again? Lu Lizhong. He's at the 8th heaven of the Great Path. They had tried to understand in Lan Jing's 9 great battle generals before, so they naturally knew what the 9 great battle generals looked like. Boom! In front of them, divine power surged and surged. Lin Tianyi stepped forward and held up the Great Path reincarnation diagram. Bai Qiu felt a familiar aura and turned to look. She was delighted when she saw Lin Tian. On the other hand, Lu Lizhong, who was fighting with her, was shocked. He immediately felt threatened and retreated. You still want to run? I'll suppress you. Bai Qiu shouted and held up the starry sky moon of the king's territory. It pressed down on Lu Lizhong. Lu Lizhong's expression changed drastically. He immediately recognized the king's territory. Starry sky moon, you have the Taiyin constitution. He roared and held up the great path nomological laws. Together with the power of the divine weapon, he forcefully broke through the starry sky moon. However, at this moment, there was a loud bang. Lin Tian's Great Path reincarnation diagram arrived. It was far more terrifying than the starry sky moon. Blood splattered. Under the Great Path reincarnation diagram, Lu Lizhong was directly shattered. His soul escaped in a sorry state and fled into the distance like a stray dog. Lin Tianling snorted. He took a step forward and stopped him. The Great Path reincarnation diagram pressed down again. No! Stop! With a soft sound, Lu Lizhong's soul was directly crushed. Whooshing Crocodile clicked his tongue and said, Lu Lizhong, the third battle general of the Chaos Bastard, was also pulled into this extreme Yin Temple. I wonder if the Chaos Bastard was pulled in. It's best if he fell into a group of ghost sages and was bitten to death. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He raised his hand and grabbed Lu Lizhong's divine weapon that rolled to the side. He raised his hand and erased the divine sense imprint on it. Then he imprinted his own imprint on it and kept it in his sea of consciousness. I was looking for you guys. I didn't expect to meet a strong enemy. Bai Qiu smiled and floated over like a breeze. Lin Tian looked at her. You're alone? He looked around. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi weren't there. There were no other cultivators or living beings. Just me. Didn't I say that I was looking for you guys? Bai Qiu said. She glanced around Lin Tian. Where's my brother? And the one with the saber? Isn't he with you? Lin Tian spread his hands. Obviously, they weren't with him. Go find them. After you find them, we'll find a way out, he said. Bai Qiu nodded and walked forward in a direction. In the blink of an eye, they had traveled thousands of feet. At this time, the ground under their feet was still red. The corpses on the ground gradually decreased, and the air became scorching hot. After walking for thousands of feet, there were no more corpses on the ground. A large river appeared in front of them. However, the river wasn't filled with water. Instead, it was filled with rolling lava. From time to time, pillars of lava would rush into the sky. For a moment, the two people and the crocodile stared at each other. A sea of lava. Whooshing crocodile swallowed his saliva. Looking ahead, the space was slightly distorted. Clearly, it was caused by the extreme heat. The heat made even someone as powerful as Lin Tian's heart palpitate involuntarily. As far as he was concerned, this level of lava could easily destroy a great Dao-level cultivator. What kind of lousy place is this? He couldn't help but say the same thing as Whooshing Crocodile. Chapter 854. The lava billowed and converged into a vast ocean in front of them. They did not know how wide it was, but it directly blocked their path. What should we do? Should we cross it? Bai Qiu asked Lin Tian. Lin Tian looked ahead. Before he could say anything, Whooshing Crocodile shook his head repeatedly. Go back. Lord Crocodile does not want to cross such a lava ocean. It feels strange no matter how I look at it. Rumble. The earth suddenly shook as if there was an earthquake. A gust of cold air surged from behind them. The two men and the crocodile turned around and saw a black tide of insects rushing towards them. It was a black mass, wriggling and rolling up dust. Bai Qiu trembled in fear and immediately hid behind Lin Tian. Damn! How many corpse insects are there? They actually chased us all the way here? Whooshing Crocodile stared. Lin Tian was also surprised. The black corpse insects they encountered at the beginning had gathered in such a large number and swept to this place. The number was estimated to be at least hundreds of thousands. We have no choice now. We can only cross this lava ocean. Lin Tiandao. These black corpse insects were a little scary. With such a large group coming from behind, even an Enlightenment Realm expert would be swallowed alive. They definitely could not block it. The only way was to cross the lava ocean. Let's go. As he spoke, he pulled Bai Qiu back. Without the slightest hesitation, he soared into the air and stepped onto the sea of lava, heading towards the other side. Damn, Lord Crocodile really does not want to cross this lava ocean. It's weird no matter how I look at it. Whooshing Crocodile cursed. However, as Lin Tian said, they had no choice now. Facing such a large group of terrifying black corpse insects, they could only cross this lava ocean. Whoosh! 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 The sound of something breaking through the air was heard. Before the two men and the crocodile could cross the edge of the lava ocean, black corpse insects shot towards them. How dare you rush over? Whooshing Crocodile scolded. The five-colored wings on his back shook and directly swayed a hurricane. The black light was all blown away. Some exploded in the air, and some were swept down and rolled into the lava ocean. All of a sudden, the corpse worms that fell into the lava sea directly burned. Even some 5-inch-long black corpse worms were no exception. After falling into the lava sea below, they were burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. This caused Lin Tian and the Five Elements alligator to be shocked. They stared at the lava ocean and involuntarily inhaled a breath of cold air. We can't fall in. No, we can't be stained by the lava. This can probably melt even an Enlightenment Realm expert. Whooshing Crocodile swallowed his saliva. Lin Tiandao said. He and Whooshing Crocodile both knew how strong the black corpse insects were, especially the 5-inch-long corpse insects. Previously, when he activated the heaven-piercing sword light, he could not immediately cut them into pieces. When he slashed the insects' bodies, a series of sparks sputtered out. But now, the lava here burned the 5-inch-long corpse insects to ashes in an instant. Seeing Lin Tian and Whooshing Crocodile so cautious, Bai Qiu shrunk his neck and became incomparably cautious. As they walked on the molten sea, scorching air currents rose up, and very soon, sweat began to flow down from their bodies. F***ck, it's so hot. Whooshing Crocodile stuck out his tongue and complained. Baichio nodded in agreement. That's right, you're hot like a dog. Whooshing Crocodile retracted his tongue and revealed an exasperated expression. I hashtag yin. The two of them and the crocodile walked towards the lava ocean. In midair, the scorching heat rose, causing the space around them to distort. That scorching heat was truly oppressive. Gulp! 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 The surface of the lava ocean rolled, and with a sizzling sound, lava bubbles appeared and burst. It was a horrifying sight. In the blink of an eye, the two of them and the crocodile walked for about a few hundred feet. Boom! At this moment, a wave of flame rushed up, sweeping dozens of feet high and directly burning the space. Under the lava ocean, a humanoid creature stood up. Its body was completely made of lava, and it was dozens of feet tall. It was like a lava giant. This lava giant's expression was numb, and its eyes were pitch black. As soon as it stood up, it threw a punch at Lin Tian and the others. The two of them and the crocodile could not help but feel their scalps go numb. Such a punch made them feel as if their bodies were about to melt. Buzz! Lin Tian decisively propped up the reincarnation diagram of the king's territory and enveloped by Chio and Whooshing Crocodile in it. With a sizzling sound, the reincarnation diagram of the king's territory melted completely on the spot. Oh my god! Whooshing Crocodile shuddered, and its scales stood on end while its eyes almost popped out. It did not know what the divine diagram that Lin Tian propped up was exactly, but it knew how powerful it was. With Lin Tian's current cultivation level, killing ordinary fifth firmament great Dao powerhouses would be a piece of cake. However, it was now shattered by the lava giant that stood up under the lava ocean with a single punch. No, it should be said that it was directly melted by the terrifying lava. Baichio also widened his eyes. This, Lin Tian also frowned. The lava giant that stood up in the lava ocean was terrifyingly powerful. Boom! The lava ocean churned, and pillars of flame rushed up. In the blink of an eye, 7 identical lava giants stood up. All of a sudden, lava sputtered in this place, as if it was going to melt everything. Including the lava giant, at the beginning, there were a total of 8 lava giants staring at the two of them and the crocodile. Their eye sockets were pitch black, and they were either waving their fists or extending their hands to attack the two of them at the same time. Lin Tian propped up the reincarnation diagram again and used it to envelop Baichio and Whooshing Crocodile for protection. Then, he stepped on the 5th level of the Yin and Yang Ho and dodged with the two of them, avoiding the 8 lava giants and leaving them behind. Roar! A ferocious roar came from behind, and a huge lava wave that was hundreds of feet tall covered the sky and the sun, pressing towards the two of them and the crocodile. The huge wave approached in the blink of an eye, casting a huge shadow that completely covered the two of them. Attack behind us together, Lin Tian said quickly. He wrapped Baichio and Whooshing Crocodile in divine light and rushed forward. Then he struck the reincarnation diagram behind them. Baichio nodded seriously and immediately propped up the king's territory, causing the surroundings to become much colder. The starry sky and the bright moon hung high in the sky, pressing down together with Lin Tian's reincarnation diagram. Whooshing Crocodile roared and flapped its 5-colored wings, using the great 5 elements art to sweep up a 5-colored hurricane and attack behind them. Boom! The reincarnation diagram, starry sky, moon, and great 5 elements art collided with the huge lava wave behind them. With 3 light, sizzling sounds, the reincarnation diagram, the starry sky, moon, and the great 5 elements art were annihilated on the spot. However, the huge waves of the scorching ocean that were about to drown the 2 men and the crocodile also exploded at the first moment, sputtering out huge balls of molten fire. Brat, dodge, dodge, dodge! Whooshing Crocodile shouted. After the huge wave shattered, the lava fireballs were like a rain of fire. The destructive power contained within was also very terrifying. Lin Tian stepped on the 5th level of the Yin and Yang Hua. leaving an afterimage with each step. His speed was extremely fast, moving between the gaps of the lava fireballs. After 3 breaths, he left this area and rushed toward the opposite side of the lava wave. Roar! The roar of the lava giants came from behind, but it was getting weaker and weaker. After a few more breaths, Lin Tian used the 5th level of the yin and yang hua to carry Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile and finally completely shook off the 8 lava giants. Brat, your movement technique is really not bad, Wuxing Crocodile said. Lin Tian did not say anything. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed a large distance with each step. Soon, the 2 of them and the crocodile traveled on the lava wave for a full 2 hours and finally saw the shadow of the shore. We're on the other side, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian increased his speed at the right time. After 3 breaths, he landed on the other side and stepped on the thick soil again. We're finally here. Wuxing Crocodile exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The group stood on the shore and looked forward. In front of them was still a stretch of barren red land, and the ground was still covered with corpses. However, compared to the other side of the lava wave, there were more corpses here, densely packed. Let's go, Lin Tian Dao. They directly walked forward. Before long, they had crossed a distance of about 10,000 feet. At this time, the figures of other cultivators appeared in front of them. There were many of them, at least 1,000. Moreover, in addition to the human cultivators, there were many powerful demons in front of them. Among them, there were existences comparable to great Dao masters who still maintained their beast forms. Did we really get sucked into that temple? Many of the cultivators did not look good. At the same time, there were human powerhouses and demon beasts fighting. The fluctuations of divine power and demon power rolled together. When the 2 of them and the crocodile arrived, they did not care about these cultivators, nor did they care about the human powerhouses and demon beasts who were fighting. Instead, they used their divine senses to search for traces of Bai Ziki and Yang Qi. However, although they did not care about the other cultivators recognized them. Many of them were moved, especially when they saw Lin Tian. Many of them even trembled slightly. This is that man. It's him. I heard that Qi Lianjin and supplemental Dao Yu died at his hands not long ago. A few days ago, he also killed Zhang Yuji. Moreover, he killed several of Enlongjing's generals and killed one of Enlongjing's divine sense incarnations. Many cultivators whispered. Looking at Lin Tian, many people could not help but retreat. They were afraid of Lin Tian and were also afraid that they would be mistaken as having anything to do with Lin Tian. One had to know that Lin Tian had killed Zhang Yuji, Enlongjing's generals, and killed one of Enlongjing's divine sense incarnations. He had already become the first person that Enlongjing wanted to kill. If this was mistaken as having anything to do with Lin Tian, it might cause a lot of trouble. These people did not want to inexplicably cause a big disaster for themselves. Boy Lin, look, these cultivators retreat when they see you. Each and every one of them is avoiding the god of plague. Wuxing Crocodile clicked its tongue. Lin Tian was too lazy to pay attention to it. His divine sense swept around and extended further to search for Bai Ziki's aura. Dong! Chapter 855. The bell sound was deep and indistinct, sounding from the depths. It wasn't that loud, but it immediately rang by everyone's ears, carrying a type of ice-cold feeling. Waves of dark clouds swirled about. Lin Tianji felt a tremor in his sea of consciousness when he heard the bell chime. The faint chime seemed to be drowning his consciousness and made it difficult for him to move. He moved his gaze with difficulty. Beside him, Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile were trembling. Their eyes gradually became dazed. He looked forward again and saw that all the cultivators in front of him were stunned. They were all staring blankly into the depths as if they had lost their souls. His heart palpitated. Dong! At this moment, another bell chime came from the depths. It was cold and ancient, as if it came from space and time. In this place, all the human cultivators, demons, and beasts were stunned. Their expressions became even more dazed. They stepped forward and walked towards the depths. Lin Tianji felt another tremor in his sea of consciousness. His vision became blurry, and his consciousness was about to be swallowed. Moreover, his body moved involuntarily. It was as if he was being guided by a mysterious force and started to walk towards the depths. Beside him, Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile were the same. Like him, they slowly walked towards the depths. Their expressions became even more dazed. Dong! The bell chime was like a soul-summoning song, guiding everyone to move forward. Lin Tianji struggled with all his might, but it was useless. His body did not seem to belong to him at this moment. He walked on his own and moved towards the depths. Moreover, his consciousness was becoming more and more blurry. He could not even make a sound. Damn it! He cursed in his heart. His limbs were no longer under his control. He could only force his consciousness to circulate the Heart Sutra of the sun. He mobilized the slow divine power in his body to attack his flesh, meridians, and sea of consciousness. This was a painful process, 10,000 times more painful than having his own flesh and blood cut by a knife. He used this method to make his consciousness no longer blurry, allowing it to become clearer. At the same time, he used this method to stimulate the sluggish divine power to become smoother, using this method to fight for control of his body. However, this process was very difficult. His body continued to walk towards the depths of the depths. His steps were steady. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. In front of them, a huge palace appeared on the horizon. The palace was eerie and ancient, interwoven with the vicissitudes of life, as if it had existed since time immemorial. It was like a primitive savage beast lying on the ground. Lin Tian's body was still moving on its own, but after 2 hours of struggling, his consciousness had become much clearer. He could clearly see the palace, and with just a quick glance, his spirit trembled violently, as if it was about to be swallowed. His uncontrollable body couldn't help but break out in cold sweat at this moment. Dong! The sound of a bell rang again, coming from the palace in front of them. Lin Tian saw a dense group of cultivators walking over mechanically from the horizon. Their expressions were numb as they walked into the palace one by one and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian instinctively felt that the palace in front of him was very dangerous and full of misfortune. At that moment, the sound of a bell rang out from inside, pulling all the cultivators inside. Most of the cultivators had clearly lost all consciousness, becoming walking corpses. He gritted his teeth and used his much clearer consciousness to circulate the Sun Sutra even faster, madly stimulating his nerves. Very quickly, he uncontrollably came to the front of the palace and was already close to the palace door. It was also at this moment that his body trembled violently, directly exploding with a ball of dazzling golden light. With a low shout, he directly propped up the Great Tao reincarnation diagram. At the same time, he grabbed Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile one by one into his own Great Tao reincarnation diagram. Stepping on the Yin Yang Hua, he quickly retreated. He continuously retreated more than 1,000 feet before stopping. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Previously, he used a cruel method to stimulate all the nerves, flesh, and divine sense in his body to break free from the restraint of the bell. That kind of pain was even more unbearable than being smashed to pieces. He panted slightly, and his face was a little pale. His hands formed a seal and pressed down on Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile, injecting his great Tao laws into their bodies and using external force to shake their divine senses. "Wake up!" he shouted in a low voice, and the great Tao laws poured in even more violently. Bai Qiu and Wuxing Crocodile shook together and instantly woke up, their eyes becoming clear. "Oh my God! Damn it!" Wuxing Crocodile immediately jumped up, and Bai Qiu also shrank her neck. She stared at the palace in front of her and fiercely swallowed her saliva. Obviously, the consciousness of the person and the crocodile were not completely blurred. On the way here, they were also resisting with difficulty, just that they did not succeed. However, even so, they were very clear about what had happened during this process. Now that they had regained control of their bodies, their hearts palpitated, and their bodies felt cold all over. So scary. Bai Qiu shrank her neck and said. She had the Lunar King physique and had already reached the level of the great Tao realm. But just now, she was still unable to break free from the restraint of that bell. It's good that you are fine. Lin Tian patted her head. Whooshing Crocodile said, that bell is like some kind of illusion, like the soul-summoning song of the dead. It can make living beings immerse themselves in it, and it has the ability to steal souls. If one is immersed too deeply, they may even lose themselves forever. As it said that, it looked at Lin Tian. Speaking of which, brat, you are good. Fortunately, you broke free from the restraint of that bell. Otherwise, we would have been finished. Dong! The bell rang again. It was eerie and faint, spreading across the area. The two people and the crocodile trembled. However, at this time, Lin Tian's great Tao reincarnation diagram was guarding outside, which more or less isolated the invisible power contained within the bell. This time, the two people and the crocodile were not greatly affected. They raised their heads. In front of them, a dense crowd of cultivators walked over from all directions, numbly walking into the palace in front of them. Lin Tian stared at the eerie palace. Just the door of the palace was dozens of feet tall. It was unknown what material it was made of, but it flickered with a faint light. The entire door was open, and it was difficult to see inside. It was as though it was the door of death that led to hell. It made one's heart tremble involuntarily. This palace, Bai Qiu and Whooshing Crocodile also looked at the palace, and they were a little scared. Whooshing Crocodile took a deep breath and said, Lord Crocodile once read in an ancient book that there is a huge palace in the depths of extreme Yin Temple. It is called the Heavenly Palace of Death. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of light. As expected, back then, an old drunkard mentioned to him that he found the remnant soul of the woman he once loved in the Heavenly Palace of Death in the depths of extreme Yin Temple. Now that he came here under the suppression of the bell and saw such a huge palace, he guessed that this was the Heavenly Palace of Death that an old drunkard mentioned. It was indeed so. According to the ancient book, the Heavenly Palace of Death in the depths of extreme Yin Temple is a shocking ghost nest. There are demons everywhere, and most importantly, Whooshing Crocodile couldn't help but shudder. The ancient book recorded that this Heavenly Palace of Death had buried at least 5 Chaos Emperors in history. What? Hearing this, Lin Tian and Bai Qiu were shocked. Chaos Emperors were so powerful that they could crush everything with a lift of their hand. This Heavenly Palace of Death in front of them had actually buried at least 5 Chaos Emperors. That's why Extreme Yin Temple is said to be the oldest life forbidden zone since ancient times. It's an absolute forbidden zone. Every time it appears, a large number of people will die. Whooshing Crocodile glanced at the Heavenly Palace of Death in front of them. The bell chimes come from that Heavenly Palace of Death, and it forcefully pulls living beings into it. Needless to say, that Heavenly Palace of Death must be the core of Extreme Yin Temple, and the cultivators and living beings that are pulled into it must have a terrible ending. He flapped his 5-colored wings and said to Lin Tian and Bai Qiu, hurry up and leave this place. That Heavenly Palace must not be approached. At this moment, the bell chimes stopped coming from the Heavenly Palace of Death in front of them. Lin Tian nodded. He already knew that the Heavenly Palace of Death was very dangerous and inauspicious, so he agreed with Whooshing Crocodile. He put away the reincarnation diagram and retreated with Bai Qiu. Boom! At this moment, the Heavenly Palace of Death in front of them rumbled, and a familiar lightning aura intertwined. Instantly, the 2 people and 1 crocodile who were about to retreat were shocked. My brother! It's the aura of my brother's divine roar palace. He's in there! Bai Qiu couldn't help but cry out. Lin Tian looked ahead. The lightning aura coming from the Heavenly Palace of Death was indeed the fluctuation of the divine roar palace. Bai Ziki had entered it, and it seemed that he had his own consciousness. It seemed that he was in trouble. Bai Qiu, why is your brother so unreliable this time? Why did he jump in there? F***. What do you think is so fun in that broken palace? Don't tell me he's taken a fancy to some beautiful female ghost? Whooshing Crocodile said angrily. What did you say? Baichio stared at it angrily. Whooshing Crocodile couldn't help but roll its eyes, looking helpless. All right, stop fooling around. He must have been pulled in by the bell chimes and then escaped from the bell chimes. If that's the case, Yang Qi should be in there too, Lin Tian said, and pulled Baichio closer to the heavenly palace of death. Let's go in. After that, don't be careless. Be on your guard at all times. The heavenly palace of death was very ominous. It looked like a ferocious beast of death lying on the horizon. It must be very dangerous inside. However, since they knew that Baiziki and Yang Qi were in there, they naturally couldn't retreat. Those two little bastards really make me worry. Speaking of which, I really don't want to go into this broken palace. Whooshing Crocodile cursed, flapping its 5-colored wings and following them. Lin Tian couldn't be bothered with it. They slowly approached the heavenly palace of death. Before long, they were in front of the huge palace door again. At this time, the bell chimes were long gone. Moreover, the human cultivators and savage beasts who were attracted by the bell chimes had all entered the heavenly palace. The two people and the crocodile didn't stay for long. After a short pause, they directly stepped into the heavenly palace. As soon as they stepped into the heavenly palace, a gust of eerie qi swept over them, making them tremble. Damn it, it's so cold. Whooshing Crocodile shivered. Chapter 856. Genius 1 Second. Remember love divided by, go divided by little? Say net, providing you with wonderful novels to read. The aura in the heavenly palace was unexpectedly cold. It was colder than the ice abyss. Even someone as strong as Lin Tian felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't help but have goosebumps. Love go little say, W2 be careful, he said, looking around. This heavenly palace was unexpectedly huge. It was dark inside, and it was difficult to see how far it went. There was only one palace path leading straight ahead. This palace path was very wide, at least several feet wide. It was paved with a strange bloodstone jade. At a glance, the palace path looked as if it had been stained with blood. The entire path was a bloodstone path. Two people and one crocodile didn't hesitate and stepped forward directly. It didn't take long for them to travel a distance of 3,000 feet. Why does Lord Crocodile feel that the flow of demon power in my body has become sluggish? Whooshing Crocodile suddenly said, My divine power too. Baichio followed. Same. Lin Tiandao. The flow of his divine power was not as smooth as it usually was. It was as if a part of it had been frozen. In fact, the moment he stepped into this celestial palace, he had this feeling. It was just that it was clearer now. He didn't pay too much attention to it. He walked forward in the direction of Baiziki's thunder aura that he had sensed before. His speed wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. They walked on the bloodstone path that was several feet wide. There were palaces on both sides, all of which were several feet high. It felt like the pavilions on both sides of the street. However, the palaces here were all gloomy. It was as if ghosts stood on both sides and stared at them, ready to pounce on them and devour them at any time. It feels chilly. Whooshing Crocodile glanced at it. Lin Tian didn't say anything and continued to walk forward. There was silence in the heavenly palace. Not long after, the two people and the crocodile walked far away. Whoosh! At this time, a gust of wind swept through the area, causing a large portion of the windows on both sides of the bloody stone path to be blown open. They swayed in this gust of wind and made cracking noises. Waves of dense, evil energy spread out. Love go little say, net to chew. The two men and the crocodile were startled. They felt a chill run down their spines. Then, they saw a pair of blood-red eyes light up in a nearby hall. A ghastly glint flashed as a wave of extremely and extremely poisonous blood and fiendish fluctuations intertwined. With a buzzing sound, a violent force surged out and wrapped around Baichio, dragging him into the palace. Lin Tian's expression changed. He took a step forward and grabbed Baichio's hand. Then, he lifted the reincarnation scroll, and with a single thought, he sent it into the hall. Instantly, a divine aura filled the hall. Roar! A ferocious roar came from within. In an instant, a gust of cold wind blew wildly. The evil energy became even more intense. Ghostly runes flashed out and swept toward the two men and the crocodile. At the same time, terrifying howls came from the other halls. In an instant, the gust of cold wind on the bloody stone path swept up waves of yellow sand. The atmosphere was cold and frightening. The scales on the whooshing crocodile's body stood up. It sensed great danger at the first moment. It flapped the five-colored wings on its back and used the great five elements art without hesitation. The five-colored light quickly spread out in all directions. Lin Tian pulled by Chiu back. His right leg shook on the ground. Instantly, dragon patterns covered it, blocking the gust of cold wind and yellow sand. Roar! Ugh! On both sides of the bloody stone path, ghostly howls came from the halls. It was eerie and terrifying. The energy was like a wave, as if it was going to swallow everything. It crazily pressed toward the two men and the crocodile. The two men and the crocodile felt a chill run down their spines. Let's go. Lin Tian used the dragon patterns to create a circle of divine light again. He pulled by Chiu and rushed forward quickly. Standing in this place, the evil energy and energy from the halls on both sides were too terrifying. Even someone as powerful as him felt a chill run down his spine. He felt that he could be swallowed at any time. Whooshing crocodile flapped its wings. The five-colored divine wind spread out and steadily followed behind Lin Tian. Buzz! The gust of cold wind swept through. The windows of the halls on both sides of the bloody stone path were opened even more. The energy became thicker. Pairs of blood-red, ghostly eyes lit up. It was as if there were ghost emperors locked in them. The two men and the crocodile felt their scalps go numb. Whooshing crocodile couldn't help but yell, "Boy Lin, use that movement of yours. Hurry up and rush through this bloody stone path." Lin Tian gritted his teeth. He pulled by Chiu with one hand and reached out with the other to grab Whooshing crocodile's tail. He directly used the fifth level of Yin and Yang Ying. His body turned into lightning and rushed forward quickly. At the same time, he held up the reincarnation diagram again. The king's territory protected him by Chiu and Whooshing crocodile. It resisted the invasion of the Yin wind, yellow sand, and evil energy. His speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had covered an unknown distance. Finally, there were no more halls on both sides of the bloody stone path. There was no more Yin wind, no more yellow sand. They could only vaguely hear waves of ferocious roars behind them. He looked back, but didn't stop. He pulled by Chiu and Whooshing crocodile and continued to run forward. After dozens of breaths, they finally stopped. The halls from before were completely gone. You scared me to death. The five elements alligator swallowed its saliva and glanced behind it. I really don't know what's locked in those palaces. If they rush out, as it said that, it couldn't help but tremble violently. So scary. Bai Chiu shrunk his neck. Even Lin Tian couldn't help but feel his heart palpitate. The blood-red ghost eyes that lit up in those halls were too terrifying. Just the aura that casually leaked out made him feel like he was about to be crushed. He was forced to use the reincarnation diagram to protect himself and escape. He thought about what Whooshing crocodile said. If the thing inside really rushed out, it would probably swallow them whole in the blink of an eye. He took a deep breath and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Then he said in a deep voice, "Let's go. We'll leave after we find them." They had just entered the heavenly palace. They were only at the edge, but they were already forced to this point. It was enough to imagine how terrifying the heavenly palace was. They couldn't stay for long. After finding Bai Ziki and Yang Qi, they had to leave immediately. Without any hesitation, the two people and the crocodile quickly walked forward. Before long, they reached the end of the Bloodstone Road. As far as the eye could see, there was a pitch-black wasteland in front of them. There were blood-red mountains on the horizon, like thick ghost snakes. The two people and the crocodile weren't surprised to see such a wasteland in the heavenly palace. After all, there were similar situations in other places, let alone in the heavenly palace of death. Boom! Suddenly, the sound of thunder came from one of the blood-red mountains in front of them. A huge thunder temple appeared. Bai Chio's face lit up. "It's my brother. Let's go." Lin Tian, the two people, and the crocodile quickly moved forward. Before long, they arrived in front of the blood-red mountain. As far as the eye could see, the blood-red mountain was filled with thunder and lightning. Bai Ziki was in the thunder temple, fighting with a figure covered in armor. The figure was holding a long spear. His whole body was covered in a deathly aura. There was no sign of life. Bai Ziki held up the divine roar temple, but he didn't have the slightest advantage. The long spear in the armored figure's hand was mottled with rust, but it seemed to have a mighty force. It easily pierced through everything, forcing Bai Ziki to retreat. Damn, what the hell is this? How could it force Bai Chio, who has the Thunder God King physique, into such a sorry state? Whooshing Crocodile stared. "Don't talk nonsense. Attack," Lin Tian said. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Without the slightest bit of trickery, he directly propped up the reincarnation diagram and mercilessly pressed it down on the figure covered in armor. Buzz! Bai Chio held up the starry sky moon. Starlight and moonlight intertwined, filling the surroundings. Whooshing Crocodile flapped its 5-colored wings. The Great Path Law was mercilessly used, like a demonic river pressing forward. This was a kind of momentum. The two people and the crocodile used almost all their strength, and the armored figure was immediately sent flying. "Brother, are you okay?" Bai Chio asked. Bai Ziki saw Lin Tian and the others. Seeing that Bai Chio was unharmed, he heaved a sigh of relief and shook his head gently. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of armor vibrating was heard. The armored figure that was sent flying stood up again and walked over with a long spear in its hand. Its movements were very stiff. It waved the long spear in its hand, bringing along a dense death aura, and pressed against the three people and the crocodile. "Be careful, this thing is not simple," Bai Ziki said in a deep voice. Lin Tian, Bai Chio, and Whooshing Crocodile nodded and attacked with all their might. Monarch's territory, supernatural powers, and the Great Path Law pressed forward together. Boom! 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 Four majestic forces intertwined in this space. After a full quarter of an hour, the three people and the crocodile pressed the armored figure to the ground and locked its limbs together. However, even so, the armored figure was still struggling violently, almost flipping the three people and the crocodile over. Its strength was unimaginable, even more exaggerated than Lin Tian's. "Damn it, why is it so strong?" Lin Tian, cut open the armor with your divine sword and see what's inside, Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. A blood sword rushed out of his body and was used by him to pry open the armor on the figure's head. The three people and the crocodile looked over and saw a middle-aged man under the armor. His eyes were numb, his cheeks were pale, and he was emitting a shocking death aura. A person? No, a dead person? Whooshing Crocodile stared. Chi! A soft sound rang out. It seemed that the middle-aged man's body had been exposed due to his armor being taken apart. Suddenly, dense cracks appeared on his body. Soon after, in just 2 breaths, the man was smashed into pieces. After that, the armor also shattered and turned into dust in the blink of an eye. The three people and the crocodile were a little surprised. Whooshing Crocodile looked at Bai Ziki and asked curiously, "Bai Ziki, how did you summon this thing?" Hearing Whooshing Crocodile's question, Lin Tian and Bai Chio both looked at Bai Ziki. "I didn't summon it." Bai Ziki shook his head and said, "Previously, I couldn't find any of you. Then, I was restrained by the bell sound from the Heavenly Palace and was pulled into the Heavenly Palace along with a group of other cultivators. When I entered the Heavenly Palace, there was a group of armored figures like this. There were about 1,000 of them, like soldiers leading the cultivators into the depths of the Heavenly Palace. At that time, I tried my best to break free and regain control of my body, Coincidentally, I was discovered by one of the armored soldiers and then chased down. After that, it was what you saw just now." Hearing this, Lin Tian, Bai Qiu, and Whooshing Crocodile were all shocked. "You're saying that there's a group of these damn things?" Whooshing Crocodile stared. Chapter 857. Upon hearing Bai Ziqi's words, Lin Tian and the others were shocked. The armored soldiers just now were extremely powerful, and they had to work together to restrain them. However, there was actually a group of such soldiers in the Heavenly Palace. What did that mean? With such a group of soldiers working together, there was no need to think about it. Even an expert of the Enlightenment realm would be killed instantly. "This lousy place!" Whooshing Crocodile cursed. "This lousy place!" Bai Qiu echoed. Lin Tian glanced at the man and the crocodile. "All right, stop complaining. Hurry up and leave as soon as we find Yangqi." The three men and the crocodile left the place and walked deeper into the Heavenly Palace. According to their calculations, all the cultivators who were absorbed into the extreme Yin Temple should have been forcefully pulled into the Heavenly Palace by the bell. Along the way, they did not see Yangqi. They guessed that Yangqi must have been pinned down in a deeper part of the Heavenly Palace. I hope that Dao Nan Brat was not pinned down by the bell and went too far away. It would be best if he broke free. Otherwise, it would be a huge problem. The deeper we go into the Heavenly Palace of Death, the more dangerous it gets. Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tian and the other two did not say anything. They sped up and walked deeper into the Heavenly Palace. At the same time, they were very cautious. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. At this moment, the sound of a sword rang out in front of them. Rays of dazzling sword light slashed horizontally and vertically as if they were going to destroy everything. The three men and the crocodile were shocked, but then they were delighted. The aura of the sword light was too obvious. It was Yangqi's. They sped up again and stepped forward in the blink of an eye. As far as the eye could see, Yangqi was fighting with the 12 armored soldiers with his divine weapon. Obviously, he had broken free from the bell's restraint. At this moment, he was fighting and retreating at the same time. He looked dozens of times worse than Bai Ziqi just now. Damn, Dao Nan Brat is better at attracting hatred than Bai Ziqi. He attracted 12 armored soldiers at once? Whooshing Crocodile stared. "Shut up and help." Lin Tian on Dao. He took a step forward and directly propped up the reincarnation diagram of the king's region. His divine and sacred aura immediately surged out. Whooshing Crocodile curled his lips and activated the great 5 elements art. The 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth intertwined together and pressed forward. At the same time, Bai Ziqi and Bai Qiu also activated their king's territory, enveloping the 12 armored soldiers surrounding Yangqi. Boom! For a time, boundless energy surged, and waves of destructive aura swept out. Bang! 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 All 12 armored soldiers were knocked back hundreds of feet away. Yangqi turned to look at Lin Tian and the others, and his eyes glittered. He nodded but didn't say anything. After all, he had always been a man of few words. Clang! 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 The sound of armor colliding resounded. The 12 armored soldiers that had been knocked back by the group of people took a step forward once again. Each of them waved the spears in their hands, and all of them emitted a vast and dense aura of death. Use all your strength, Lin Tian said. The others knew that these armored soldiers were terrifying, so they didn't hold back at all. One by one, they propped up the great Tao laws, mystical abilities, and other secret techniques. After exerting a tremendous amount of effort, they finally destroyed the 12 armored soldiers. I don't know what material these armors are made of. They're as strong as divine weapons. But the strange thing is that after they're broken, they turn into ashes in the blink of an eye. It's really strange. Whooshing Crocodile was curious. Who cares what material they're made of? Let's leave this place now. Lin Tian on Dao. Hearing that, Whooshing Crocodile immediately got rid of his curiosity. Yes, yes, yes. Leaving this lousy place is more important. At that moment, The group turned around and headed back the way they came. However, as soon as they turned around and took 3 steps, their expressions changed. Along the way, 9 headless ghost corpses silently appeared. Each of them held a bronze halberd in their hands and charged towards the group of people. They weren't fast. They wore iron armor, and their necks were stained with blood. Their movements were as stiff as the armored soldiers, but far more terrifying. Just a casual swing of their halberds caused the entire space to tremble. 9 waves of death aura rolled, as if 9 galaxies were pressing down from the sky, as if they could destroy everything in the world. Retreat! Lin Tian was horrified and quickly retreated. These 9 headless ghost corpses seemed to be able to kill Wuxian experts with a raise of their hands. Even someone as powerful as him felt a sense of powerlessness at this moment. Bai Ziki and the others naturally also noticed the terror of the 9 headless ghost corpses. They all retreated dozens of feet away. What the hell is this? Wuxing crocodile cursed. Clang! The bronze halberds whistled, and the 9 headless ghost corpses stepped forward. The death aura rolled like a river, as if to drown everything. The 4 people and 1 crocodile cursed and were forced to retreat again. Damn it. They're deliberately forcing us into the depths of this heavenly palace. Bai Qiu said angrily. The sonorous sound echoed. The 9 headless ghost corpses were like 9 ancient demon mountains pressing down, and the death aura rolled over. The 4 people and 1 crocodile had no choice but to retreat again and again, gradually moving into the depths of this heavenly palace of death. F***CK. Are we really going to go deeper? Lord Crocodile thinks we're jumping into a fire pit. Wuxing Crocodile cursed. Lin Tian glanced at it from the corner of his eyes. Can you kill those 9 monsters? Or are you confident that you can get past them? Wuxing Crocodile didn't say anything because those 9 monsters were indeed terrifying. If its cultivation hadn't fallen and it was at its peak, it wouldn't have been afraid. But now, it obviously couldn't. Even if it was 10 times stronger, it still wouldn't be able to stop them. The 9 headless ghost corpses weren't fast, but the death aura was mighty and mighty. The bronze halberds in their hands were even more terrifying, as if they could pierce through everything with a slight shake. Let's continue to retreat. Lin Tian on Dao. The 4 of them and the crocodile felt helpless. Originally, they really didn't want to stay in this heaven palace any longer and wanted to leave immediately. However, the 9 headless ghost corpses were suppressing them on the way here, forcing them to retreat deeper into the palace. The group escaped at full speed. Compared to the 9 headless ghost corpses, they were much faster. Soon, they had traveled thousands of feet into the depths. At this time, the 9 ghost corpses had been completely left behind. We can't see them anymore. Let's go back the way we came and leave this heavenly palace. Wuxing Crocodile said. Go back. Lin Tian was a little helpless. Do you think they won't be here when we go back now? How do we know if we don't try? Maybe they really won't be here. Lord Crocodile really doesn't want to go deeper into this place. Lin Tian thought for a while and said, Okay, let's try. Immediately, the 4 people and 1 crocodile walked back carefully. However, after going back for thousands of feet, the 9 ghost corpses were still standing in the same position. Seeing the 4 people and 1 crocodile appear, they directly pressed down on them with their bronze halberds. This time, the 9 ghost corpses were even faster than before. The 4 people and 1 crocodile were so shocked that they exuded cold air. Without any hesitation, the group retreated decisively. After a dozen breaths, they once again shook off the 9 headless ghost corpses with extreme speed. No matter how I look at it, they're deliberately forcing us to go deeper. Bai Qiu gritted his teeth. The 5 Elements crocodile also gritted his teeth and cursed the 9 ghost corpses for actually blocking their way out like this. Okay, looking at the situation, I'm afraid that even if we go back the way we came, we won't be able to get out. I guess the door of the heavenly palace is already closed. That thing can't be blasted open easily. Lin Tian said, Let's go. Since it's useless to go back the way we came, let's go deeper and take a look. Maybe we can find a way out on the way. The 9 headless ghost corpses blocked the way back. They couldn't go back, so it was meaningless to stay in the same place. It was better to go deeper. At that moment, the group carefully walked into the depths of the heavenly palace. They walked forward, and the ground was dark. After walking for another few hundred feet, a rotten ghost hand suddenly stretched out from the ground and grabbed Lin Tian's ankle. Lin Tian was slightly moved. He quickly shook the divine power in his body, broke the ghost hand that grabbed his ankle, and crushed it with his foot. There was an ear-piercing scream from the ground. Then the whole ground rolled like a wave. Rotten corpses crawled out one by one, sinister, and rushed toward the 4 people and 1 crocodile. Ignore them. Let's leave directly, Lin Tian said. These rotten corpses weren't scary, but there were a lot of them. They kept crawling out from the ground, and it seemed like they couldn't kill all of them. So, it was better to leave directly. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The 4 people and 1 crocodile continued to move forward, and in the blink of an eye, the rotten corpses were left behind. At that moment, a mountain range appeared in front of them, and a blood moon appeared in the sky. It cast a ray of bloody light through the dark clouds, and it was slightly creepy. The mountain range lay in front of them. Not long after, the group entered the mountain range, and the cold air in the mountain range became thicker. It's like we're in an ice cellar. Whooshing crocodile cursed. The group moved forward, and the further they went, the colder the air became. After a few dozen breaths, a stone platform appeared in front of them, surrounded by fog. There's someone up there. Bai Qiu shrunk his neck. Lin Tian and the others stared at it, and suddenly they trembled, and the hair on their bodies stood on end. Looking at it, the stone platform was very ordinary, surrounded by fog. They could vaguely see a tall figure sitting cross-legged on it, mysterious and terrifying, and emitting a terrifying aura. There's a trace of Emperor Qi. Bai Ziqi's expression changed. Everyone trembled. There was an Emperor-level powerhouse sitting on the stone platform. If he attacked them, they would all be killed. Something's not right. Lin Tian stared at it, and the yin-yang lotus sea swayed in his sea of consciousness, and said, "That doesn't seem to be a real body, but a phantom." Hearing him say that, the others were shocked again, and looked forward seriously. In fact, they already felt that Lin Tian was right. After all, if that was a real Emperor level, they would have been discovered long ago, and the other party wouldn't be so indifferent. Grandpa Crocodile knows. There must have been an Emperor-level powerhouse whose lifespan dried up here, and he disintegrated here, allowing his Emperor body to melt and be buried in the void, and then left behind this fog phantom, Whooshing Crocodile said, and his eyes suddenly lit up. This is an immortal opportunity. When an Emperor-level powerhouse disintegrated, there must be unimaginable Taoist connotation left in the surroundings. Meditate by the side, and I'm sure you'll gain a lot. Chapter 858. Each of the emperors was extremely powerful. After all, that realm was already the peak of cultivation in the history of the 10 heavens. Those at that level all had the ability to transcend the heavens and penetrate the earth. Such characters had at least a few complete great Taos in their bodies. Once they disintegrated into the great Tao, there would definitely be a shocking amount of Tao accumulation left behind. This kind of Tao accumulation wasn't something tangible. It couldn't be seen or touched, but for cultivators, it was a precious treasure. It could be called an immortal opportunity. Let's go! Let's go! Whooshing Crocodile's eyes lit up like a hungry man who saw a peerless beauty. The group carefully walked forward. At first, there was a terrifying pressure coming from the front, but as they approached the stone platform, the pressure disappeared and was replaced by a vast ocean of Tao accumulation. Even Lin Tian was shocked. This Tao accumulation was only the remnant aura of the emperors who disintegrated into the great Tao, but it was so thick and astonishing. It was much more powerful than the traces of enlightenment of the predecessors they found in the 5th heaven. One was like a star, while the other was like a grain of sand. Not only him, but at this time, Bai Qiu, Bai Ziqi, and Yang Qi were also a little stunned. Don't just stand there, quickly sit down and meditate. The Tao accumulation left behind by the emperors is something that can only be found by chance. Whooshing Crocodile urged. The four nodded. Lin Tian's hands flashed with a faint divine light, and he arranged 9 sealing formations around them before returning to the stone platform. Now that they were in the heavenly palace of death, a terrifying monster could jump out at any time. His sealing formation might not be able to block the monsters here, but if a strange creature approached, he would be able to sense it in an instant. He nodded to Bai Chio and the others, indicating that they were ready. Then, each of them sat down cross-legged in a corner of the stone platform. Wang. For a time, divine light and demonic light appeared, and faint fluctuations of Tao law intertwined. Lin Tian circulated the Heart Sutra of Sun and sat cross-legged on the southeast side of the stone platform. Strands of golden light circulated around his body. The principle of Tao in his body rejected the innate source of Tao, but it would not reject the Tao connotation left by other cultivators. After all, the innate source of Tao was something substantial and could be directly refined into one's own principle of Tao. However, the Tao connotation left by others was not the same. The Tao connotation left by others only gave him enlightenment, and the most important thing was for him to comprehend it himself. On the other hand, the more powerful an existence was, the more shocking the Taoist connotation they left behind would be, and the easier it would be for later generations to be enlightened. Therefore, many cultivators would search for the traces of enlightenment left behind by the previous masters to help their own cultivation. Buzz! Lin Tian sat cross-legged on the edge of the stone platform. He spread out his divine sense to capture the remnant Tao connotation of this place and carefully comprehended it. The Tao connotation around him was rich, and the light of Tao rose and fell. Gradually, his divine sense merged with it and followed the remnant Tao connotation to evolve his own principle of Tao, making his principle of Tao purer and more powerful. His divine sense appeared in a hazy and boundless world again. The rivers were beautiful, and the mountains were magnificent. Strands of Tao light flickered in this world, and they became stronger as his principle of Tao strengthened. As usual, what he saw was still the sunset and the rise of the sun. It was still the same withered plants that were rejuvenated. Is this the cycle of all things? Or is there always an opportunity to live and never fall and wither? He was a little confused. The sun set and rose, and the plants withered and regenerated. It seemed to be an endless cycle, but it also seemed to indicate that no matter how much it fell and declined, there would always be a day when it rose and was reborn. What does it mean? He was puzzled and could not be sure. This was a world that was evolved from his principle of Tao, and it was closely related to his principle of Tao. However, the simple images that appeared in this world were something that he could not understand. His divine sense interweaved in this space and condensed into his figure. He looked at the mountains, the rivers, and everything. Buzz! Gradually, in reality, the golden divine light outside his body became more brilliant, and the light of the great path became more intense. He could not understand his own Tao, and he did not know what Tao it was. He just calmed himself down and used the remaining imperial connotation near the stone platform to evolve his own principle of Tao, allowing his own principle of Tao to flourish. In this way, time passed quickly like flowing water. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. On this day, the golden divine light and the divine light of the great path outside Lin Tian's body became extremely intense. Then, the space between his eyebrows also shone brightly, and a shocking divine power surged up. Then it quickly quieted down. In the next moment, Lin Tian opened his eyes. The Tao light intertwined in his eyes. It was hazy and vast like a vast galaxy. The third level of the great path. He said to himself, in the past 3 months, he had cultivated the imperial connotation by the side of the stone platform. With the help of the imperial connotation, he had comprehended the great path and evolved his own principle of Tao. Finally, he had made great progress and stepped into the third heaven of the great path from the second heaven of the great path. He stood up and stretched his body slightly. Suddenly, There was a burst of sound like beans being fried. There was a Tao light on the surface of his body, and there were also streaks of blood-red electric arcs intertwining. There was a shocking divine power of the great path permeating the air. Very good. He clenched his hands and clearly felt his current strength. He was more than one level stronger than he was 3 months ago. He looked to the side. Bai Qiu and the other two, as well as the whooshing crocodile, were all in the midst of comprehending the great path. The Tao light outside their bodies was gradually becoming stronger. He did not continue to comprehend, but walked to the side to protect the 3 people and the crocodile. Soon, 3 days passed. On this day, the whooshing crocodile woke up. The Tao light outside its body was surging. It had stepped into the second heaven of the great path. There was excitement in its eyes, but this time, it did not howl. It calmed down a little, then flapped its wings and flashed to Lin Tian's side. Refreshing. It chuckled in a low voice. Lin Tian did not pay attention to it. He just stood quietly and looked ahead. Soon, another few days passed. Bai Qiu and the other two broke through one after another. They each took a small step forward and reached the second heaven of the great path. Their blood and qi became more vigorous, and the precepts of the great path became thicker. Their strength improved a lot. That's great. Bai Qiu laughed. In such a heavenly palace of death, there was an emperor's way for them to comprehend and cultivate. It could be said to be an unexpected gain. The 4 people and the crocodile stopped in this place for a while and looked around. Isn't it time to go back? Why don't we try again? The whooshing crocodile said. Lin Tian shook his head. Forget it. There's no need to try again. Those 9 headless ghost corpses will definitely appear again. The whooshing crocodile could not help but roll its eyes. However, it also knew that the possibility of what Lin Tian said was very high. In other words, it had to be so. Let's continue to go deeper. While looking for a way out, we can also look for treasures. Maybe we can dig out a divine medicine. Bai Qiu blinked her eyes. Lin Tian, Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the whooshing crocodile were speechless. This girl was starting to get restless after getting the emperor's way. In such a heavenly palace of death, you're still thinking about finding treasures and digging for divine veins. You should thank the heavens if you can get out alive. Lin Tian felt quite helpless. Bai Qiu curled her lips. As a person, you have to be positive. You can't be too pessimistic. Otherwise, it will affect your luck. Lin Tian was speechless. This girl's words made sense at this time. He really could not find any words to refute. All right, let's go, he said. The 9 ghost corpses were definitely waiting for them on the way back. It was very scary. They could only go deeper and hope that they could find a way to the outside world. Whoosh! A chilly wind blew. The blood moon in the sky cast streaks of blood-red light. It was more or less a bit creepy. The 4 people and the crocodile carefully walked deeper. As they moved forward, they carefully used all kinds of methods to find a way out of the heavenly palace. Just like that, several hours passed in the blink of an eye. They walked a long distance into the depths of the heavenly palace. At this time, a strong wave of divine power came from ahead. The great path law intertwined, and many large trees soared into the sky. This is Lin Tianwei narrowed her eyes. This wave of energy and these large trees were very familiar. Bai Ziki and the others were also slightly moved. Apparently, they also felt the familiar aura. The group did not linger and continued forward. Not long after, they saw a man fighting against 6 armored soldiers. The man seemed to be in an extremely sorry state, his entire body covered in blood. Great Tao laws interweaved, and stalks of old would appear one after another. They were astonishingly durable. However, this was nothing to the 6 armored soldiers. The 6 long spears were raised diagonally, and in an instant, everything was shattered. Hey, an acquaintance. Whooshing Crocodile clicked his tongue and said. Lin Tian also smiled. This young man was none other than the young king of the 5th heaven, Duan Ziyun. Previously, he wanted to snatch their innate Tao source, but he was beaten so badly that he had to flee. He even threw away his divine weapon. He didn't want to see him again. At this time, Duan Ziyuan was obviously also restrained by the bell. He broke free from the shackles and attracted the 6 armored soldiers to attack him. Clang! Boom! In front of him, the sound of spears and divine power intertwined. Duan Ziyuan retreated again and again. Several times his body was almost shattered. Lin Tianyi and the others stood on the side, crossing their arms and looking ahead with an expression of watching a show. Duan Ziyuan fought against 6 terrifying armored soldiers alone. Without his divine weapon, he was injured again and again, constantly coughing up blood. After about 10 breaths, Duan Ziyuan was suddenly shocked. He found Lin Tianyi and the others. "It's you." He showed a look of shock. Then his face turned ashen. Then a cold light flashed in his eyes. With a swoosh, he rushed straight towards Lin Tianyi and the others. The 6 armored soldiers behind him chased after him. The 6 long spears were filled with a strong aura of death, as if they could pierce through everything in the world. "Oh my God!" He brought 6 armored soldiers and rushed over. "Is he trying to drag us down with him? How sinister." Chapter 859. Duan Ziyuan was not lightly injured, but his speed was not slow either. He led the 6 armored soldiers to charge at Lin Tian's group, a sinister look in his eyes as he said, "You guys should also try out the methods of these armored soldiers. The taste is not bad." With a whoosh, he was dozens of feet away in the blink of an eye, approaching Lin Tian and the others. Lin Tianling smiled and rushed toward Duan Ziyuan, not minding at all. With a flash of his feet, he appeared in front of the other party. "I've already tried it. It's not bad." As he spoke, he directly punched out. Boom! The golden fist covered the void as if it wanted to shatter everything. The majestic power caused Duan Ziyuan's expression to change on the spot. He clearly felt that Lin Tian was even more terrifying than in the previous battle. Yoopht! Blood splattered. Lin Tian did not show any mercy in this punch. Faint laws of the great path intertwined in the fist radiance. The punch blew Duan Ziyuan apart, and even the other party's spirit was shattered into light. Now his cultivation had reached the 3rd heaven of the great path, and his strength in all aspects had been greatly improved. In addition, Duan Ziyuan was heavily injured. As such, he naturally killed the other party with a single punch. TSK, this kid is getting more and more abnormal. Behind them, Whooshing Crocodile said, "That's right." Bai Qiu felt the same way. At this moment, a sonorous sound reverberated. The 6 armored soldiers charged forward, their spears filled with an eerie aura of death. Lin Tian stepped forward. He did not use any tricks, nor did he use the reincarnation diagram. He directly met the attack with a golden fist. Boom! As he punched down, the void trembled, and the spear in one of the armored soldiers was shaken out of his hand. Then, he grabbed the end of the spear and directly pierced it between the eyebrows of the armored soldier, causing it to explode with a hiss. When the armored soldier shattered, the spear in his hand also shattered. However, this was not a big deal to him. He directly swept his right leg and sent the other 5 armored soldiers flying. He snatched their spears one by one, then threw them out with a shake of his hand. They pierced the 5 armored soldiers' foreheads one after another, causing them to dissipate in the blink of an eye. All of a sudden, the place became quiet. He clenched his fists and was very satisfied with his current combat strength. Previously, when he was in the 2nd heaven of the Great Path, he had to expend almost all of his strength to deal with such armored soldiers. But now it was much easier to deal with them. Not bad, not bad. Whooshing Crocodile clicked its tongue. Lin Tianyi smiled and looked ahead. Let's go. Killing Duan Ziyuan and the 6 armored soldiers was just a small interlude. The group once again headed deeper into the forest. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 hours passed quietly. Where is the exit? Bai Qiu mumbled. Along the way, they had spread out their divine senses. Lin Tian had even used the dragon burial scripture to its peak, but he still couldn't find a way out. Could it be that only the door of the main hall leads to the outside? Whooshing Crocodile questioned. Lin Tian thought for a moment and couldn't help but shake his head. Whether it is or not, we can't get there now. Those 9 headless ghost corpses aren't something we can deal with right now. If we forcefully collide with them, I reckon even a Nirvana realm expert would die. At this time, they didn't have much choice. They could either stay where they were or continue to head deeper. Staying where they were might be safer, but they would gain nothing. Going deeper might be very dangerous, but there was still some hope. This part of the Celestial Palace was quiet. The group walked deeper into the forest, and in the blink of an eye, they had crossed an extremely long distance. At this time, the chilly wind in the air became stronger, and the sound of rolling waves came from ahead. The 4 people and 1 crocodile were slightly moved. They were cautious and increased their speed slightly. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed several hundred feet. As far as the eye could see, a huge suspended bridge appeared in front of them. The bridge was completely paved with bluestone, and there was an aura of vicissitudes. No one knew how long it had existed. They lowered their heads slightly. Under the bluestone bridge, mist lingered. A large river surged violently. The water was blood yellow, and from time to time, huge waves splashed, causing the void to become slightly distorted. The group's expression changed slightly. The bluestone bridge was about 10,000 feet long, and the blood-yellow waves under the bridge were even more terrifying. It felt as if they could melt everything. Rumor has it that the Extreme Temple is something that floated out of hell. Lord Crocodile suddenly thought of the bridge of helplessness and the river of forgetfulness. Whooshing Crocodile swallowed his saliva. Bai Chio followed up and whispered, I also thought of this. I'm looking for Mengpu, Lin Tian, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi. Your brain is too fast, isn't it? Rumor has it that there is a gates of hell in hell. After passing through the gates of hell, one must first walk through the Yellow Springs Road. On this Yellow Springs Road, there is a strange flower known as the red spider lily that blooms all year round. After that, if you walk to the end of this Yellow Springs Road with the red spider lily, you will be able to see the river of forgetfulness. Above the river of forgetfulness is the bridge of helplessness, and on the other side of the bridge is the village gazing terrace. Look here, no matter how you look at it, it doesn't match. Lin Tian was helpless. Whooshing Crocodile said, haven't you heard some other trivial rumors among the people? It is said that hell is divided into various halls. Some halls will evolve into small hells. Although it is not complete and there will be some missing things, it will generally be very similar. We entered the main gate of the Heavenly Palace. Doesn't the main gate look like the Hell's Gate? Can the road we walked be called the road to the Yellow Springs? Right now, the Bluestone Bridge and the blood-yellow river below are very similar to the rumored bridge of helplessness and river of forgetfulness. As he spoke, Whooshing Crocodile pointed to a very inconspicuous place on the other side of the Bluestone Bridge and whispered, there's a bluestone platform over there. Look, doesn't that look like the Hope Village Terrace? Lin Tian raised his head and looked over. There was indeed a stone platform in the corner of the bridge. It was very inconspicuous, but it exuded an ancient aura. Staring at the bluestone platform, the bluestone bridge, and the blood-yellow river below, he suddenly felt a little apprehensive. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi also frowned slightly, and there was a look of surprise in their eyes. The group stared at the bluestone bridge, and for a moment, they did not move. Soon, 10 breaths passed. Lin Tian Wei gritted his teeth and said, who cares about the rumors? Let's go over. Go over? Whooshing Crocodile widened his eyes, looking somewhat fearful. Kid, that's not good, right? Although this may not be the bridge of helplessness or river of forgetfulness, but the opposite side is definitely not a good place. Then what should we do? Stay here all the time? Lin Tian Ondao asked. Whooshing Crocodile opened his mouth, and for a moment, he really did not know what to say. In the current situation, it was impossible to turn back. There was no point in staying here, and it was too dangerous to go over. It was really a headache. Forget it, let's go over. What kind of storms have I not experienced? Why should I be afraid of a bluestone bridge? He finally gritted his teeth and said. Immediately, the group walked carefully to the bluestone bridge. Soon, they were really close to the bluestone bridge. Suddenly, a violent cold wind suddenly rolled up carrying a disgusting rotten smell. It almost flipped the four people and the crocodile over. Bad luck, bad luck, whooshing crocodile cursed. At this time, looking at the bluestone bridge up close, the four people and the crocodile were even more shocked. The intertwining aura of time on this bridge was too frightening. It was as if a long river of time was flowing on it, causing the group to involuntarily tremble. They calmed down, stepped on the bluestone bridge, and walked toward the opposite side. Walking on this bluestone bridge, the bluestone that paved the bridge looked very ordinary, but it was very hard. Whooshing crocodile tried to hit it with its claws, but it did not even leave a mark. Little crocodile, don't hit it randomly. If this is really the bridge of helplessness, you will be punished by the heavens. Baichio said softly, cut it out. This will be punished by the heavens? Naive. Whooshing crocodile rolled its eyes and continued, if you really want to talk about the heavens, your future husband is the one who will be punished by the heavens. He can attract heavenly tribulations when he steps into the great virtue realm, and 2 in a row. Baichio opened his mouth to refute, but after looking at Lin Tian, he suddenly felt a little guilty. Great virtue realm, 2 heavenly tribulations in a row, she muttered softly, and then secretly glanced at Lin Tian. 3 black lines instantly appeared on Lin Tian's forehead. What was the meaning of this? The 2 sides of the stone bridge were hazy with fog, and the group continued forward. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed half of the bluestone bridge. Right at this moment, a rumbling sound rang out, and the blood-yellow river under the bridge started to boil, sweeping up huge waves with a pungent smell of decay. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that as the huge waves swept up, there were actually many vengeful spirits in the waves. There were humans and beasts, and all of them had ferocious expressions, and the aura of death surged into the sky. The group was greatly alarmed, and they all used their mystical abilities and secret techniques. Boom, boom, boom. An even stronger wave swept up under the stone bridge, and more vengeful spirits rushed up, roaring fiercely as they pounced towards the group. Then, in this wave of vengeful spirits that filled the sky, a ghost claw suddenly reached out and grabbed Whooshing Crocodile's tail, directly dragging it out of the range of the stone bridge. Then, the sky full of vengeful spirits pounced towards Whooshing Crocodile, all of them ferocious, crazy, and terrifying. Lin Tian's expression changed, and he immediately supported the Great Tao reincarnation diagram. The light of the king's territory intertwined with the Great Tao nomological laws and struck forward. Baiziki and the other 2 also used their mystical abilities, crushing the vengeful spirits one after another. At the same time, they swept towards the ghost claw that grabbed Whooshing Crocodile. Whooshing Crocodile's scales stood up, and with a howl, it directly shook off its tail and rushed forward, patting its chest with its claws in fear. Baichio supported the king's territory to block a large number of vengeful spirits, and glanced at Whooshing Crocodile, who was rushing forward, and couldn't help but whisper, in the past, there were heroes who cut off their wrists to save their lives, and today, there is a crocodile that gave up its tail to escape. Is it really being punished by the heavens? When Whooshing Crocodile heard this rather neat sentence, it immediately looked flustered and exasperated. F***CKU, its whole body flickered with demonic light, and the broken tail instantly regrew. It directly supported the Great 5 Elements technique, and as if venting its anger, waved it towards the densely packed vengeful spirits that were rushing up from the river, crushing a large number of them in an instant. Boom! Chapter 860. The waves of the river surged, and the Yin Qi filled the sky. Countless resentful spirits and ferocious ghosts rushed out from the river under the stone bridge. There were humans, demonic beasts, and some other races that had never been seen before. All of them had ferocious faces, and the aura of death was terrifyingly dense. With a rumbling sound, the space trembled violently, as if it was about to collapse in the next moment. Go! Rush to the other side! Lin Tian shouted in a low voice. These resentful spirits rushed out from the river endlessly. If they continue to resist, they will be drowned sooner or later. Ziki and the others naturally understood this point. They each used their divine abilities and techniques to shatter the wraiths before transforming into bolts of lightning and charging towards the other side of the bluestone bridge. In the blink of an eye, they crossed the remaining section of the bridge and appeared on the other side. Roar! The dense, resentful spirits roared, their faces ferocious, but they couldn't rush out of the range of the river. They were all blocked inside. This kind of roar was somewhat terrifying, shaking the river and causing the waves to surge, causing the 4 people and 1 crocodile to be frightened. Terrifying, Bai Qiu shrank her neck. These resentful spirits may be nothing individually, but when gathered together, they're somewhat terrifying. The resentment and death aura intertwined together can almost corrode everything. Wuxing Crocodile was quite unhappy with these resentful spirits. It threw out another beam of light, instantly obliterating a large number of them. After crossing the bluestone bridge, the air became colder. Bai Qiu looked at a bluestone platform not far away and moved towards it. Is this really the village viewing platform? I heard that standing on the village viewing platform, you can directly see your hometown and relatives. She murmured. It has been a long time since she left home. She somewhat missed it. Hearing what she said, Lin Tian was also slightly moved. It has been a few years since he separated from his younger sister, Lin Shi, Ji Yu, and Su Shu. He also missed Shui Yi and Ling Yun very much. After this, I have to go back and take a look, he whispered to himself. Suddenly, a low voice sounded. Why are you crawling? Come down. Lin Tian was startled by this voice. When she came back to her senses, she saw Bai Ziki scolding Bai Qiu with a dark expression. This was because this girl had forcefully climbed onto the bluestone platform. This left him speechless. This place was the heavenly palace of death, and this stone platform was on the other side of the bridge. There was nothing beside it, so it might be something ominous. Was this girl not afraid of encountering danger? Even the 5 Elements crocodile was a little embarrassed. Cough, cough. This little girl is quite curious, and her courage is also quite fat. The group ran over and saw Bai Qiu curling his lips in disappointment. It's fake. I can't see anything. As she spoke, she jumped down lightly. Seeing that she was fine, Lin Tian was also relieved. This is only slightly similar to the legendary hell. Don't take it seriously. Let's continue forward, he said. The river churned, and the resentful spirits were still roaring. They wanted to rush over, but unfortunately, they couldn't. The group didn't stay in this place. They followed a wide path on the other side and carefully walked down. The air on the other side of the bluestone bridge was gloomier than the other side. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, as if they could fall at any time. In front of them, black mountains intertwined on the ground. The mountains were majestic, covered in stone scales. It's like a true dragon was beheaded on the ground. Lin Tian muttered to himself. Then he shuddered. He was frightened by his own words. Bai Qiu noticed his strange behavior and asked, What's wrong? Nothing. Lin Tian shook his head. He sorted out his emotions and calmed down in the blink of an eye. Bai Qiu glanced at him strangely, but didn't say anything. The group continued forward. Not long after, they walked very far away. The chill in the air became even thicker. It was also at this time that a very strong smell of blood came from ahead. The 4 people and 1 crocodile were all shocked. They looked at each other and quickened their pace. Soon, they crossed several hundred feet and saw a corpse lying on the ground. The corpse died in a rather miserable state. A long spear had pierced through the center of his brows. His eyes were still wide open. It seems that he hasn't been dead for too long. There are fluctuations of Tao laws intertwining in the air. Bai Ziki said, This was the corpse of a middle-aged man. He should have been in the great Tao realm when he was alive. His face was covered in blood and white brain matter. Wuxing Crocodile said, He should have broken free from the restraints of the bell here and regained control of his body. However, he couldn't escape the pursuit of those armored soldiers and was nailed to death here. Lin Tian and the others nodded. Clearly, it was as Wuxing Crocodile said. After all, They had seen the scene of Baiziki and Yangqi being chased by the armored soldiers after breaking free from the restraints of the bell. Moreover, the spear that pierced through the middle-aged man's forehead was the symbol of those armored soldiers. They could recognize it at a glance. "There are more over there," Bai Qiu whispered. Lin Tian and the others raised their heads. There were several other corpses lying not far away. Some had their hearts pierced, some had their throats pierced, and some had even been torn in half. Blood dyed the ground red. It was a rather ghastly sight. There were faint fluctuations of Dao laws intertwining around these corpses. Clearly, they were all experts of the great Dao realm when they were alive. Speaking of which, although great Dao cultivators aren't too strong, they are definitely not weak either. However, in this place, they are as weak as ants. Wuxing Crocodile sighed. Lin Tian didn't say anything. This place was indeed terrifying. There were dangers everywhere. Any evil creature that jumped out was extremely terrifying. "Let's go. Be careful," he said. Lord Crocodile really doesn't want to go any further. "What kind of broken place is this?" Wuxing Crocodile gritted his teeth, but he still flapped his wings and followed. If they didn't move forward, they might never be able to get out. Sooner or later, they would be trapped in this heavenly palace and die. As they moved forward, the Yin fog in the air became thicker. As the group stepped into Wushan, they suddenly smelled a strange fragrance, which shocked everyone. The fragrance was so strong that it was a little shocking. It was mixed with a majestic psionic power, which made the pores all over their bodies open up. They took a deep breath and followed the medicinal fragrance. Soon they saw a small pool. In the middle of the pool was a purple grass with divine light floating around it. At this time, they found this place. The fragrance in the air was even thicker. It was like the legendary divine aura of the divine realm, which made the four people and the crocodile feel like they were about to ascend. However, Wuxing Crocodile cursed on the spot. "Damn it, such a strong fragrance. Lord Crocodile thought I had encountered a divine herb. It turned out to be this unlucky thing." "Soul-rotting grass," Baiziki said. "Yes, it's soul-rotting grass." Wuxing Crocodile cursed. "This grass is purple in color and exudes an amazing fragrance. It can strengthen a cultivator's soul by at least 3 times. However, it will corrode the flesh and blood while strengthening the soul. It will contaminate the strengthened soul, making the flesh and blood unable to reunite. It will turn the body into something that is neither human nor ghost." I was happy for nothing. I also thought I had encountered a divine herb. Bai Qiu curled his lips. Next to him, Lin Tian's eyes were intertwined with a surprised expression. "It's useful to me," he said, and directly raised his hand to grab the soul-rotting grass. Wuxing Crocodile glared and grabbed him. "Kid, are you crazy? Once this thing gets close to a cultivator's flesh and blood, it will directly corrode the flesh and blood. Do you want to be melted? Besides, what are you going to do with this lousy thing?" Baiziki and the other two tilted their heads and looked at Lin Tian strangely. According to the ancient records, the soul-rotting grass was a highly poisonous grass with a foul power. Most cultivators stayed away from it. "Don't worry, it's fine. I have a use for it. It's very useful," Lin Tian Ondao said. There was joy in his eyes. Dragon patterns intertwined in his hand, and he grabbed the soul-rotting grass. His arm was unharmed. Then, he took it back and set a seal with the secret technique recorded in the dragon burial scripture. Only then did he throw it into the stone ring. Wuxing Crocodile looked surprised. As expected of the dragon burial scripture, it completely isolated the soul-rotting grass's corrosive power. As it said that, it looked at Lin Tian with some confusion. "Kid, what are you going to do with it?" "Refined pills," Lin Tian Ondao said. He had control of the Master Apothecary's medicine encyclopedia. There was an amazing divine pill whose core ingredient was the soul-rotting grass. The soul-rotting grass was of no use to the cultivators in the world. Many people didn't want to get close to it, but it was very rare. He didn't expect to find one in this place. To him, it was a good harvest because the effect of the divine pill that used the soul-rotting grass as the core ingredient was really extraordinary and very tempting. Refined pills? Refined pills for what? You know how to refine pills? The Five Elements alligator was surprised and asked several questions in a row. Lin Tianyi smiled. He did not explain why he knew how to refine pills. He simply explained the effects of the Baodan. It can increase one's combat power, speed, consciousness, and other aspects by 10 times in an instant. Moreover, there are no side effects. Of course, this effect is only temporary. It can last for about an hour. Hearing this, the three people and the crocodile's expressions changed. Whooshing crocodile's eyes widened. Kid, are you serious? Yes. Lin Tian nodded and continued. However, with my current level of refining pills, I can't refine those divine pills. I have to at least reach the peak of the 7th grade alchemist level. There were alchemists in the 10 directions celestial domain. From weak to strong, they were roughly divided into 9 levels from the 1st to the 9th. He was currently at the 5th grade alchemist level. Hearing his words, the three people and the crocodile could not help but be surprised again. Their expressions changed again and again. It should be known that there were several kinds of Baodan in the cultivation world that could increase a cultivator's strength in an instant. However, after the effect of the Baodan that Lin Tian mentioned at this moment, there were all kinds of serious side effects. However, the Baodan that Lin Tian mentioned at this moment did not have such side effects at all. Moreover, the increase in strength was extremely shocking. It could increase a cultivator's strength in all aspects by 10 times in an instant. This was amazing. Chapter 861. The three men and one crocodile looked at Lin Tian in shock. They were all shocked by the magical effect of the Baodan mentioned by Lin Tian. It could increase one's strength by 10 times in an instant without any side effects. It was too powerful and tempting. Hurry up and cultivate to the peak of the 7th grade alchemist level and refine that Baodan. Give me 8 or 10 of them. Whooshing crocodile's eyes lit up. Such a magical pill was an absolute killer at some critical times. Lin Tian glanced at it. Why don't you say I'll give you 100 or 80 of them? He said, there's only one soul-rotting grass. It has to be specially processed and refined. In the end, it can only refine 3 Baodan at most. You want 8 or 10 of them. So little? 5 Elements stared. What do you think it is? Fasting pill? Can it be mass-produced? Lin Tian was speechless. Whooshing crocodile opened its mouth, then was speechless. Finally, it rolled its eyes. Thinking about it, the magical effect of the Baodan that Lin Tian mentioned was amazing and had no side effects. It was normal that it was difficult to refine. Whoosh! In this group of Wushan mountains, a cold wind blew, sometimes strong, sometimes light, bringing up strands of sand and dust. The group left and went around a small pool. They carefully looked around and continued to go deeper. Not long after, they saw corpses again. They were nailed to the ground, and there were a lot of them. There were dozens of them, and they all died miserably. Those who can break free from the bondage of the bell are all extraordinary people. It's a pity that they died here. Whooshing crocodile sighed. Lin Tian and the other 3 felt the same, but they didn't say anything. They just nodded secretly. There was a lot of blood on the ground. The 4 men and 1 crocodile continued to walk forward. The yin qi in the air became thicker. A dark yin qi floated from the front, and the cold air inside made the 4 men and 1 crocodile stiffen. After walking for more than 10,000 feet, a large gorge appeared in front of them. The gorge was not deep, about 10 feet or so. The black death mist rolled in it like waves, turbulent and surging. Looking down, there were densely packed figures standing in the gorge. They were all covered in armor and were no different from the armored soldiers from before. There were so many of them that it was frightening. Suddenly, the 4 men and 1 crocodile changed their expressions. There are so many of these things? The group was stunned. The armored soldiers in the gorge were both humanoid and beast-shaped. There were at least 1 million of them. If so many armored soldiers rushed out together, they could overturn the world, because in this gorge, They could clearly feel that there were many armored soldiers with extremely terrifying auras. They were comparable to Nirvana realm cultivators. At the same time, they saw a human cultivator in the gorge being entangled by wisps of black fog. Then, armor gradually appeared on the surface of the cultivator's body, slowly covering his entire body, turning him into a new armored soldier. Damn it, I saw this cultivator outside the Heavenly Palace before. Now that he's been trapped here, he's been forced to become an armored soldier. These armored soldiers, are they all transformed from the living beings absorbed by the extreme Een Temple? All the living beings that were absorbed into the extreme Een Temple in the past have all turned into these armored soldiers. Whooshing Crocodile's heart palpitated. Lin Tian's expression also changed. Whooshing Crocodile's guess was not wrong. The armored soldiers in this heavenly palace were all transformed from the cultivators that were absorbed by the extreme Een Temple. At this time, Bai Qiu tugged on his sleeve and pointed to a place on the opposite side of the gorge. There. Lin Tian looked in the direction Bai Qiu pointed, and his body suddenly trembled. On the opposite side of the gorge, there was a huge platform with intertwined patterns. A stone book was erected on it, intertwined with an extremely dense aura of time. It was difficult to tell how long it had been since ancient times. 3 ancient seal characters were engraved on it. Book of Life and Death. Lin Tian felt as if his head had been hit by something. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound. After opening his mouth, he could only spit out 2 words that he hadn't heard in a long time. F***CK, Book of Life and Death. There was a stone book here, and the words Book of Life and Death were engraved on it. These 3 words were not unfamiliar to anyone. According to legends, it was the thing that controlled the life and death of all living beings in hell. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and Whooshing Crocodile were all stunned. They all trembled as if they had lost their souls. This, Whooshing Crocodile was tongue-tied. After saying this for a long time, he was stunned and couldn't utter a complete sentence. At this time, the group felt as if they had been splashed with a basin of bone-piercing cold water. They felt cold from head to toe, and they felt that the air here had become demonic. Lin, brat, no. This is not good. Lord Crocodile feels that we can't stay here. Even if we can't get out of this heaven palace, we can't stay near this gorge. Whooshing Crocodile swallowed hard. In fact, Lin Tian wasn't any better. At this time, his heart couldn't help but beat violently. Before this, when they crossed the Greenstone Bridge, and Whooshing Crocodile called it the Bridge of Helplessness and the River of Forgetfulness, he didn't think much of it. After all, it was just similar. However, at this time, in such a place where the aura of death was turbulent, a stone book erected on a platform with the words Book of Life and Death clearly engraved on it made his scalp go numb. Let's go! He opened his mouth and carefully retreated. At this time, he keenly felt that something bad was going to happen. Whooshing Crocodile flapped his wings carefully and followed beside him. Bai Qiu and the other 2 also moved back with vigilance. At this time, within the gorge, the aura of death rolled and surged up. Whoosh! 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 The armored soldiers in the gorge woke up and rushed out with a monstrous aura of death. They held spears and pressed toward the 4 people and the crocodile. Oh my God! Whooshing Crocodile couldn't help but tremble and shrink his neck. This was because there were more than 1 or 2 armored soldiers rushing out of the gorge. There were more than 100 of them, like a real torrent of death pressing down on them, wanting to destroy everything. Lin Tian clenched his fist and threw out a dazzling fist aura. It destroyed everything in its path and repelled the first few armored soldiers who rushed over. They flew back the way they came. Let's go back to the Wushan Mountains where we came from. Find a hidden place to hide all of our aura, he said. Clang! At this time, the sound of weapons rang out in front of them. The entire space trembled. 9 headless ghost corpses blocked their way. One of the ghost corpses waved a bronze halberd and slashed the heaven and earth. The 4 people and the crocodile's hearts palpitated as they quickly retreated. Damn it. Why do these 9 bastards always come out to cause trouble? Previously, they stopped us from going to the main hall, and now they're here. Whooshing Crocodile was furious. Clang, 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 clang. A group of armored soldiers chased after them. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded the 4 people and the crocodile. The aura of death surged and almost knocked the 4 people and the crocodile over. They chased after them and waved the spears in their hands. Their movements were simple and direct, mercilessly piercing toward the 4 people and the crocodile. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and growled. He waved his golden iron fist and punched with all his strength. Boom! With a boom, the group of armored soldiers at the front were smashed and sent flying, rolling hundreds of feet away. Bai Qiu held up the starry sky and the moon. At the same time, he activated the Great Tao Law, enveloping the dozens of armored soldiers and knocking them to the ground. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi did not hold back either. Each of them activated their own tyrannical techniques to face the armored soldiers that surrounded them. Great 5 Elements Art. Whooshing Crocodile cursed as he activated the Great Tao Law of the 5 Elements and activated the dozens of armored soldiers. Then, the group all activated their divine weapons. Their divine might was vast and mighty, and the shadows of their weapons crisscrossed in this space. At this time, there were too many armored soldiers charging at them. Each of them could kill a Great Tao cultivator. How could they hold back? Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the halberds rang out. The 9 headless ghost corpses pressed forward together. The 9 bronze halberds were like weapons that could destroy the world. Although their surfaces were dull and even mottled with rust, they were extremely terrifying. The 4 people and the crocodile were all frightened. They did not dare to face them head-on. They could only rely on their speed to dodge such attacks. The 9 ghost corpses' movements were sluggish. After their attacks missed, they raised the bronze halberds in their hands again and mercilessly slashed down. The group each activated their extraordinary movement techniques and dodged again. Fortunately, their movements are sluggish and slow. Otherwise, they could kill all of us in an instant. Whooshing Crocodile trembled. This was the truth. The 9 ghost corpses' strength was extremely terrifying and beyond imagination. If not for their sluggish movements and disorderly attacks, even a Nirvana cultivator would not be able to resist for long. Lin Tian naturally knew this. At this moment, he activated the reincarnation diagram. After sweeping away a few armored soldiers in front of him, he once again dodged a headless ghost corpse's halberd. However, although he dodged, he still felt his whole body go cold and his heart turn cold. He felt that if that halberd had struck him directly, even if he did not die, he would have lost most of his life. Roar! Right at this moment, a roar rang out. The deathly mist in the gorge surged even more violently as a withered figure stepped out. This figure was not covered in armor. His hair was grayish-brown like withered grass. His eyes were deeply sunken, like the birth of a peerless evil spirit. Before he even got close, the 4 people and the crocodile trembled and each of them coughed out a mouthful of blood. Nirvana, ghost saint? Whooshing Crocodile trembled and its expression changed greatly. Lin Tian and the others were also greatly shocked, and their backs became even colder. The Nirvana Ghost Saint was a legendary ghost that was comparable to a Nirvana stage expert. Moreover, it was far more powerful than an ordinary Nirvana stage expert. With their current cultivation, they would definitely die if they were to face such a Nirvana Ghost Saint. Even if Lin Tian released the demonized middle-aged man from the stone ring, it would be impossible for him to block the Ghost Saint. The Ghost Saint was simply too terrifying. The withered figure had very little hair on his head, and there was not the slightest bit of spirit in his sunken eyes. He was like a puppet. When he stepped out, the deathly mist surged like a river of stars, shocking everyone. Chapter 862. Blood splattered in the air. The 4 people and the crocodile were in an extremely sorry state. They were sent flying for a long distance before they could barely stabilize themselves. They quickly circulated the ancient demonic arts to repair their bodies. Booms! At this time, the space shook violently. The withered figure was even closer. It was like a real death god was pressing over. The mist of death around its body covered the sky. For a moment, the four people and the crocodile trembled together. The crocodile broke out in cold sweat. His strong body couldn't help but tremble. "Kid Lin, quick! Let the little guy in your body shine. Maybe only the little guy can help us." Whooshing Crocodile shouted. Lin Tian didn't dare to hesitate. He directly shook his divine sense and called the little guy beside the life source. The little guy was usually in a deep sleep. After Lin Tian called with his divine sense for 2 breaths, the little guy finally woke up. It immediately made a ya sound, and all the patterns on the surface of the divine egg lit up. Buzz! For a moment, the light of the divine pattern spread out through Lin Tian's body and instantly intertwined around his body. Suddenly, the withered figure of the Nirvana ghost saint trembled violently, as if it had seen something extremely terrifying. It directly fell from the sky. At the same time, the armored soldiers and the 9 headless ghost corpses surrounding the 4 people and the crocodile trembled and retreated together. One of the ghost corpses even dropped the bronze halberd in its hand. Whooshing Crocodile stared. Although he felt that the little guy in the divine egg was very unusual and might be able to help them, he didn't expect it to be so terrifying. So exaggerated? Bai Ziki and Bai Qiu were also surprised. Yang Qi was the most surprised because he didn't know about the existence of the little guy before. Lin Tian was naturally shocked, but there was obviously not much time for him to be shocked at this time. He forcibly put away his surprise in an instant and shouted in a low voice, "Let's go." The little fellow in the divine egg was not simple. The aura it emitted could cause many powerful creatures to feel fear, but in the end, it was only fear of that kind of aura. At this moment, if the ghost sage charged over recklessly, it would definitely be able to tear them apart easily. This was because the little fellow had not truly been born yet. It was still in the egg, so it was impossible for it to display its true battle strength. Bai Qiu and the others clearly saw through Lin Tian's expression and quickly retreated behind Lin Tian. Their speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had shaken off the withered figure and the 9 ghost corpses. They were already several thousand feet away. Suddenly, the depths of the palace quaked. A terrifying aura rushed out like an erupting volcano, causing the entire palace to tremble. In the depths, on the platform opposite the Great Gorge, the stone book engraved with the 3 ancient seal characters of the Book of Life and Death began to vibrate. Waves of terrifying fog rushed into the sky. Immortal, vaguely, an incomparably hazy voice came from the Book of Life and Death, causing the sky to tremble. In the next moment, an enormous rumble resounded as Shushing rose up from the ground and instantly stood above the sky, causing the withered figure, the 9 ancient corpses, and all the armored soldiers to tremble as if they were kneeling before their master as they kowtowed towards the sky. It's rushing out. Run! The 4 people and the crocodile's expression changed drastically. They never expected the Book of Life and Death to rush out from the platform. In the sky, a crack appeared on the Book of Life and Death. The outer layer of stone fell off in the blink of an eye, revealing an ancient book flickering with black light. It was full of innate Tao patterns, branded with tiny ancient seal characters that interweaved with eerie light. With a loud bang, the Book of Life and Death shone with a dazzling black light. It was as if a deity of the underworld had come into being, majestically descending from the sky. Crack! In an instant, the large space shattered. The chaotic light overflowed, and the eerie black light seemed to want to destroy everything. In just an instant, the divine egg in Lin Tian's body trembled slightly. The light emitted by the little fellow was directly extinguished. "It's coming for the little fellow." Lin Tian's expression changed. He transmitted his voice to Bai Ziki and the others to speed up their retreat. However, in the next moment, he trembled violently. The surrounding space was completely confined, making it difficult for him to even move a finger. Bai Ziki and the others were in the same situation as him. At this moment, He looked at the sky with a chill all over his body. He could only watch as the book of life and death suppressed them. Damn it! He was shocked and furious, but there was nothing he could do. The aura emitted by the book of life and death had sealed everything. Boom! At this moment, the heavenly palace of death suddenly trembled violently again. Another terrifying aura appeared. With a crack, a corner of the heavenly palace shattered. A stone coffin rushed out, seemingly from the outside world. The aura it emitted was not inferior to the book of life and death. It ruthlessly slammed into the book of life and death. With a bang, the book of life and death was sent flying. It crashed into a mountain not far away, destroying the entire mountain on the spot. Lin Tian and the others were shocked. At this moment, they could move again. They quickly retreated until they were tens of thousands of feet away. They stopped and looked back. What's this? A coffin? Bai Qiu's heart palpitated. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing special about the stone coffin. It looked very ordinary. However, at this moment, it was wrapped in a hazy light mist. It floated high in the sky, and a huge black hole appeared in the void around it. It seemed to lead to the end of the universe. It devoured space, air, and even light. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Tian's expression was shocked. He was shocked by the ferocity of the stone coffin. It was as if it could bury everything. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the whooshing crocodile were naturally shocked. The whooshing crocodile was already lying on top of Lin Tian's head, tugging on a lock of Lin Tian's hair. However, at the next moment, it suddenly changed its expression. It stared at the stone coffin in the sky and said, Why does it look so familiar? The stone coffin stretched across the sky like the king of all ages, devouring the heavens and the earth. Boom! In the depths of the heavenly palace, the book of life and death that was knocked away rushed up again. The ancient patterns on it flickered, and the intertwining light became denser. First God, another voice came from it. It was not clear, as if it was sleep-talking. Then, with a boom, it emitted an incomparably dazzling light and rushed directly towards the stone coffin. The stone coffin trembled. The black holes around it devoured everything and rushed towards the book of life and death. In an instant, the two collided violently. Ka! In just an instant, the sky of the heavenly palace collapsed inch by inch. Chaotic light, yin light, yang light, turbid light, and all kinds of light were struck out. The space was directly shattered into pieces. The two shook at the same time. The book of life and death's dim light surged. The stone coffin pulsed with dark light and rushed towards the other side again. Boom! 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 The two collided continuously. Heaven and earth collapsed, and everything was destroyed. The four people and the crocodile trembled together. Even though they were far away, they felt as if their bodies were about to split open. A sense of fear rose in all of them. Without hesitation, they retreated into the distance again. In the blink of an eye, they rushed tens of thousands of feet away. That stone coffin, what is it? It's colliding with the book of life and death. They all have consciousness? After the void is shattered, it usually recovers quickly. But now, it's difficult to recover. Moreover, it's transforming into the primordial chaos. The group was stunned. They were completely stunned by the scene in front of them. Boom! In front of them, the stone coffin and the book of life and death seemed to be natural enemies. They kept colliding, causing the sky to shatter and the earth to collapse. Destructive waves filled every corner of the sky. With a bang, the stone coffin was sent flying. It crashed into a nearby dark mountain and sank into the eternal void. However, this was only for an instant. The next moment, the stone coffin shattered the eternal void and rushed out. It was as if a supreme god was pressing down. With a bang, it smashed the book of life and death into the ground. Crack! The earth split open. The book of life and death rushed up. The dim light was violet. The ancient runes trembled as if they were alive and rumbled. The stone coffin was simple and direct. It collided with the vast and mighty light fog that filled the sky, bombarding many black holes and black cracks. This is simply. Even the legendary heavenly treasures are nothing more than this, right? What kind of power is this? It can shatter heaven and earth with a slight move. The four people and the crocodile were shocked. At this time, they had no choice but to retreat again. The collision between the stone coffin and the Book of Life and Death was too terrifying. The consequences were terrifying to the extreme. At this time, the void was almost completely destroyed and had not recovered. It looked like the entire place was wrapped in chaos. The air, space, and everything else had been annihilated. The Book of Life and Death glowed again. The ancient runes on it seemed to have come to life. They stretched out from it and made clanking sounds like chains. They penetrated the void and pierced through eternity, directly entangling the stone coffin. Boom! Billowing black fog rushed out from the chain like ancient runes. It covered the sky and completely submerged the stone coffin. The four people and the crocodile were shocked. It wants to refine the stone coffin. Boom! The sky shook violently. An aura that caused all living things to tremble surged out from the black fog. It was appalling. Then, in an instant, the black fog that submerged the stone coffin was shaken away. The ancient runes that bound the stone coffin also shattered bit by bit and dissipated in the blink of an eye. Squeak! A crisp sound rang out. The stone coffin shook and a corner of the coffin lid moved. Light and fog interweaved inside, as if a great world was buried inside. A desolate power that could shatter the universe emerged and directly enveloped the Book of Life and Death, crushing the void. The Book of Life and Death shook violently. The ancient runes rushed out like chains again and attacked the stone coffin, almost overturning it. Squeak! The stone coffin trembled slightly and made a crisp sound again. The coffin lid moved a little to the side again. An even more terrifying power surged out and flooded the Book of Life and Death like a destructive current. Vaguely, through the gap in the coffin lid, the group saw the chaotic light, an neon light rolling inside. There was another stone coffin lying horizontally, motionless. Lintion was shocked. There was actually another stone coffin inside the stone coffin. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.